This is Dave Parkinson, of course. This is 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. Delighted as ever to have your company midweek. And I've got to say, I'm alongside Mr. Steve Beach. Steve, you've had an interesting weekend, haven't you, at your game?
I certainly have, yeah. Yeah, it was a great day out. Nipped over to Shevington, watched Shevington and Oral St James. Obviously, they've got the new clubhouse, which is very good, absolutely superb. Two massive rugby fields. It's absolutely huge. Unlike a lot of the other rugby pitches that I'll go on about, Oral St James is exactly the same as well. It's tucked away behind a lot of housing estates, as it were. But it's absolutely really good. And I had a great time there. And obviously we'll fill you in on what happened a little bit later now.
Plenty of guests as ever this week. So we have Craig Evans joining us from Millom. Had a fascinating chat about the history of Millom and his particular involvement as well. So do look out and listen out for that one. Then on Sunday, I was over at the Women's Challenge Cup game between Salford and Featherstone. So we've got plenty of after-match reaction there from Salford boss Chris Bates, from scrum half Demi Jones, and then from Featherstone boss Marie Colley and players Fran Copley and Chloe Billington, who's recently been called into the England squad. So will she make the starting lineup for the game against France? I don't know, but she was hopeful of having an impression, and she certainly made an impression in that game. I was also out and about on Saturday at the NCL game between Pilkington Recs and Skirlaugh. Yes, those amongst you will know it's only a few weeks since my visit to Pilks, but I was back again. So we've got chats with Jamie Smith and Lee Roberts, the coach of Skirlaugh. So looking forward to airing those. But I want to start by, first of all, mentioning that it's the start of the Lions programme again. So it's one of these things, it never ever stops, to be honest. So yeah. Just as last season was coming to a close and last year was coming to a close, they started off with trials in Cumbria, Yorkshire and Lancashire. That culminated in trial games, which ended up being played in February. And from that, we've seen squads of, I think it's 36 players for the under 16s and 40 players for the under 18s selected in two squads. So they were meeting each other for the first time at the weekend. And there was also a fascinating presentation as well. I decided that I'd sort of position myself because they were talking about welfare and about all this type of stuff. And once again, Steve McCormack was leading that. So I'm hoping that over the next few weeks, we can get to chat to Steve and get his version of events. But certainly, it was really interesting hearing him say this. And I've got to say that, I'm not breaking any confidences here, but every player that is on the programme has been issued with a self-care guide as part of Rugby League Cares. And also this time around. So it's a great big thick booklet, to be honest. And from what Steve was saying about it, this is the same information in this booklet that was fed to all of the World Cup squads for England. So the fact that this is getting into the community game is absolutely fantastic.
That's how it should be, Parky, isn't it? There should be that trickle-down effect. It should be no different from right at the top all the way down to the bottom.
Definitely, and as I say, there's loads of stuff in here regarding digital well-being, staying connected, being mindful, the power of routine. There's things on sleep, risk-taking behaviours, what is self-care. There's all kinds of bits of information in that. So I think that this is a real step forward. I mean, to be fair, the Lions programme was ahead of the curve last year. In the amount of stuff and the amount of information that was being fed into the players, but I think it's just going to go from strength to strength, to be fair. And I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing that. And I tried to play my little part in each of the interviews. So he almost did like a bit of a creeping death at the start, where Steve does his introduction, then he throws it over to Fiona Everson, who's she's from West Hull, but he's also one of the welfare officers that's involved with the Lions, and Pete Longbottom as well, who obviously we know Pete. He's been on this show. He's also at the moment chair of the Masters Rugby League. So I'm looking forward to getting a chat with him in a few weeks' time. They're on the edge of a milestone of players registered. So I look forward to sort of having a bit of a natter with him regarding that. And then there was me. So Steve like throws it over and he goes, and I'm Parky, do you want to introduce yourself? So usually it's like, yeah, clear the old throat, stand up. Hi, I'm Dave Parkinson. I'm going to be the guy that you're either going to grow to love or hate because I do all the media. So I'll be the fella that's at the side of the pitch, either taking pictures or waiting to do an interview with you. And there was a few sort of like looks of terror in the eye.
Heads down, no eye contact.
Heads down, no eye contact. No, to be fair, the lads were really, really good, but it was nice to get that little bit of an introduction done really early. And hopefully that'll lead to us talking a bit more about the Lions as we progress over the next few weeks. So there's a whole heap of fixtures that have been announced with regards to the Lions programme this year. So from an under-18s and an under-16s point of view, there are 4 test matches to come, 2 against Wales, 1 each against Ireland and Scotland, double headers as well throughout the season. And for any player that doesn't get picked for the initial 20, they have the chance to stay around to be involved in the under-17s game, which is going to take place against France. So France coming over for a 2-match series. So similar to what happened last year, although that was away in France. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that one. I also want to mention as well something that I'll be getting involved with over the next few weeks. So you might have already read this on social media, but this was the Logan and Gary's Lionheart Fund. So this is all about Logan Holgate and Gary McMahon. Unfortunately, both have passed away in the last few months. Gary, tragically, on the tour that we did to Italy for the European Championships with the under-19s, and then sadly Logan just a couple of months after that. So the idea behind this, and I'll read what's on the back of the on the back of the leaflet that I've been given regarding it. Logan and Gary's paths crossed throughout their involvement in the England Community Lions programme. Logan, the player, with Gary, his coach. They set out as an England under-19 squad with the aim of becoming European champions in Italy 2022. However, the trip was dealt a crushing blow by the sudden and tragic passing of Gary on tour. The Lions made the decision to continue in the championship in Gary's honour. They did this with bravery and determination. The England Community Lions staged a stunning fight back to beat France in the final, a triumph that they dedicated to Gary. Champions of Europe, a bond that will live on forever. Tragedy and heartbreak came to this group again 4 months later, when England's number 9 Logan Holgate suddenly passed away at the age of 18. This fund, Logan and Gary's Lions Heart Fund, will be a fitting tribute and lasting legacy to 2 outstanding and committed Rugby League Lions. Both Logan and Gary had hearts of gold as well as hearts of lions. Logan and Gary thrived in Community Rugby League, and their respective communities were outstanding in their love and support at such devastating times. The fund aims initially to provide heart screening for the Community Rugby League game, both in Cumbria and the North West. Logan and Gary would be so proud to put something back into their communities and the wider rugby league community. This fund will also help save lives. So I think that this is fantastic. It's all going to be launching in Cumbria on Sunday, the 7th of May, over at Hensingum. It's a 9 a.m. start. There's going to be a community clubs walk. Then there's a Northwest launch on Sunday, the 28th of May, 2023. 9 a.m. start, Rivington Pike. Tell you, that's a heck of a walk, isn't it? It's a bit of a trek, that, but fantastic there. The meet there, 9 a.m. Rivington Hall Barn. There's also going to be a National Three Peaks Challenge, all to be done in 24 hours. Now, this is Alan Coleman's idea and his brainchild. So he's hoping in the space of 24 hours to climb Snowdon, Scafell Pike and Ben Nevis. He's going to be busy, isn't he?
It's going to be sore.
He is going to be sore, yeah.
I know that. I'm going back to the Pennington Flash. I remember years ago, I did a team bonding course at the place where I worked, and one was going up Rivington Pike, and it was basically like a survival day because it had been snowing, it was freezing, the wind was blowing. Oh, I'll tell you. It was interesting, to say the least.
There's also going to be Logan's Birthday Memorial Day. So this is going to be happening on Sunday, the 22nd of October, again at Hensingham ARLFC. Past and present England Community Lions will play against each other. That's going to be a day to savour, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so please keep an eye on social media for more details. And I've got to mention as well that you can donate as well. So there's a Just Giving page that's been opened. So it's justgiving.com/fundraising /Logan and Gary Lions heart fund. So keep an eye on that one. I'll just repeat that again. So it's justgiving.com /fundraising /Logan LOGAN, then a -sign and AND Gary GARY Lions LIONS heart HEART fund. So we're going to be backing this over the course of the next few months. I know I've got a couple of things in prospect regarding it. So, but it's great to give it a mention. And again, mention that the Lions programme is up and running and open for business for 2023. Now, let's move on and start talking results, shall we? So, as per usual, we'll start with the National Conference League, and again, some fascinating results have taken place. So, in the Premier Division this weekend, there was an away victory for Hunslet, 28 points to 0 up at Kells. Dearden scoring 2 tries, Gale carrying on his fantastic kicking form with 4 goals. That's a win of some magnitude at a place like that.
Yeah. Well, we said this last week, didn't we, Parker? That it would be a test to see how they travel.
Definitely.
But obviously they've found it. They've done and they've won, and they've got to take a lot from that, like you say. I mean, not a big score like they used to, but a good score overall when you look at how they've kept Kells to that score.
Well, there's not many sides that'll stop Kells from scoring. Having said that, because they are a pretty formidable scoring side, so they've gone some to win by that magnitude up there. Lee Miners Rangers 18, Wafbrow Hornets 28. Now, Miners Rangers were thinking they were on for another shock. They led by 12 points to 10 at half time, but it was Wafbrow Hornets whose class told in the end. A couple of tries there for friend of the show, Fran King. McCourt, Kerwin and Goodwin also scoring tries, with Kerwin hitting 4 goals. Rochdale Mayfield continued to impress. They hosted Hull Dockers and won by 60 points to 12. Travis Long grabbing the headlines there with a hat-trick, and young winger Parr kicking 8 goals as well. Siddle, they fought out an almighty game against West Hull. West Hull proving victorious, but I've got to say, it looked like it was going to be a one of those routine wins for West Hull at half time. They led by 22 points to 0. So this really was a game of contrasting halves, where West Hull dominating in the first half and then Siddle dominating the second, but they couldn't quite overtake that 22-point deficit, ending up losing by 18 points to 22. And then this for me is well, I'm really pleased for Wigan St Pat's, to be honest, because we've been waiting for them to sort of get their season kick-started. They've found the transition from Division 1 to the Premier Division a little bit tough in the opening 5 rounds. I think it would be fair to say they found the sea legs. They defeated Lock Lane 32 points to 26 over at Clarrington Park. And I've got to say, that is an outstanding result, Steve.
Yeah, I think we said last week, Parky, that, this, if there was a chance for them to, sort of get back on the horse, as it were, this was going to be it, because it keeps them in touch with those guys in and around them, which is important, because what they didn't want to be was to be cut loose at such an early stage. And a really good win for them, and hopefully it stands them in good stead moving forward.
couple of tries there as well for Danny Riding. Great to see him back. And my old mate, Tyler Spence, getting on the scoreboard as well. So nice to see that he's back playing rugby league. He's usually one of these guys that switches between league and union. So I know during the close season, he goes playing for, I think it's Preston Grasshoppers.
Oh, yeah.
Which played for most recently. But it's always nice to see him back playing rugby league and back doing what he does best, which is scoring tries for St. Pat's. So at the moment, as it stands, it looks like that's my destination at the weekend. So they're going to be playing against Leeds Miners Rangers. But I'll bring all the results, or all the fixtures, I should say, in a few minutes' time. What's that done to the table? Well, currently your top half is looking like Hunslet out on top, 12 points from 12. West Hull, 5 wins, 1 loss in second spot. Loughborough Hornets quietly going about their business, tucked away in third spot with 4 wins and a draw and just the 1 loss. Then we have Rochdale Mayfield. They played 1 game less than everybody else. They have won 4 and lost just 1. Then we have Thatto Heath Crusaders, 3 wins, 3 losses. Kells, 3 wins, 3 losses. And then there's a whole heap of teams that are tucked in behind them. So Siddle, 2 wins, 4 losses. York Acorn, 2 wins, 4 losses. And they had a superb win against Thatto Heath Crusaders.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, Parky. That when I saw that one, I was really surprised that is a biggie. It certainly is.
Huge result, that, to be fair. Conroy scoring 2 tries. Swales with a hat-trick. And Conroy also kicking 4 goals. It was a good day for him, wasn't it? A really outstanding result, that. And what a first half as well. I'm just looking at this. 32-12 at half time.
Yeah.
I mean, they've blown Thatto away there, haven't they, in that first half?
Not only that, I mean, they've kept Thatto to just 1 try in the second half as well. So,
impressive form.
They backed it up, haven't they? They backed that first half up.
And it's 2 wins on the bounce as well, if I'm not mistaken, for York Acorn. So they did this last year. They looked at one point like they were getting cut adrift at the bottom of the table. And then suddenly they went on a bit of a run, didn't they, where they struck, 3-4 results together. And as we've said with all the other divisions, if you're a side that can do that, you can motor up that league table, can't you?
You certainly can.
Hull Dockers also have 2 wins and 4 losses. And then your bottom 3 at this moment in time, Lock Lane with a win and a draw and 4 losses. Leeds Miners Rangers, second bottom, with 1 win and 5 defeats. But they've got a better point difference than Wigan St. Pat's, who are the other team that's only played 5 games. So they've won 1 and lost 4. Intriguing stuff, to be honest, Steve.
There's a couple of results there which we didn't imagine, but it sort of sparks things up, and it keeps teams in touch, stops them getting cut adrift, and then it gives others, like you say, like York Acorn, we're going to see them go on a bit of a run. It's excellent.
Now, as well, looking at Division 1, which is, shaping up to be absolute humdinger of a division, to be honest. I'm just looking at the spread of points at the moment. You've got the top team who's got 10 points and the third bottom team who's got 6 points. And only by virtue of a slightly worse point difference are in that position. They could get relegated based on that. However, long way to go. So let's run you through the results. Crossfields 48, Thornhill Trojans 18. A certain Mr. Cassidy kicking 8 goals there for Crossfield. He's found his mark.
He's found his boots, hasn't he? Yeah.
McJ scoring a couple of tries as well. For the Trojans, they're finding the going difficult. They were losing by 26 points to 2 at half time. However, they have a fullback there called Gibson who's playing his absolute heart out at the moment. Scored a try and kicked 3 goals, but they seem to be going through a bit of a lulling form at the moment, don't they, Thornhill Trojans? It's been a really tough start for them. There was a try literally at the end of the game, so I'm not saying that they took it close here, Egremont Rangers, but according to their social media, their excellent social media, they were just 8 seconds away from losing at home to Heworth when up pops Tyson with the crucial try and he kicks his third goal of the match to secure an 18 points to 14 victory. This after Heworth had built a 10-6 half-time advantage. Those are two good sides up there that were playing in this game.
Yeah, and you're correct about the agreement and the social media. It's absolutely superb. Keep you in touch with absolutely everything. Again, a really tight match there, which is good. That's what you like. I mean, we do get the odd occasion in these divisions where we'll get the odd blowout, but in the main, I think we get really, sort of either high scoring close games or ones which you think, well, hang on, are these two going to, is there going to be an out and out winner in this one? And usually what happens is you get a tight affair.
Well, certainly the next two games that we're going to mention, they were high-scoring affairs. Featherstone Lions 24, Alton Raiders 32. This was played at Featherstone Rovers, actually, because they've got a few issues with the, I think it's with the showers at the moment at the mill pond. So I'm sure they're going to get that fixed in as soon as they can. But it's nice to see Rovers, again, sort of offering this support to the local side, isn't it? And saying you can come and use our pitch. I know you're a big fan.
I love it. They'll offer it to anybody, I'll tell you, Pat. And Park, if we said we were going to play rugby against each other, Featherstone would be right on the blow saying, do you want to play up here, lads?
Well, I think with how you've been talking about that ground, I'm sure they'd let us have it as well, to be honest. But yes, it was Alton Raiders who proved victorious. Couple of tries for Schofield, couple of tries for Jagger, couple of tries for Wiggins as well in that one for Alton Raiders. Unfortunately, Wise scored a hat-trick and ended up on the losing side for Featherstone Lions, but a really close game and by all accounts a very entertaining encounter. Also entertaining, Ince Bridge, and it must be love because then Valentine's are amongst them.
I noticed it. I noticed it again.
So Robbie Valentine, a try and 6 goals. He is some player, I mean, not wanting to influence anything here about players who could potentially play for, England Community Lions in the future. But I tell you what, Mr. Couch, you're going to have to watch these Ince Bridge lads because, these Valentines are a really good player. Robbie plays at half-back or loose forward. Wonderful competitor. And then Pete Valentine usually plays wing or fullback. He was amongst the tries again, grabbed one. There was a couple of tries for Collier as well. Clock Face Miners, they also gave their all. They actually led by 10 points to 6 at half-time, Clock Face Miners. He scored quite a few tries. Leyden, Jones, Highcott and Geraghty getting on the board. But ultimately, it was Ince Bridge who proved victorious, 32 points to 24. And is this perhaps the surprise result of the season? Are there any surprise results actually in Division 1 with how competitive it is? Perhaps not, but Stanningley went over to West Bowling, this West Bowling side that I saw a few weeks ago, looking like they were a class apart from anybody. And they've done a real job on them. They've won by 38 points to 36. So this is after leading by 20 points to 12 at half-time. Hat-trick for Stanningley for Sykes. Selby also with a try and 7 goals amongst the points there, which ended up getting the better of West Bowling, where I can say a friend of the show, Jack Milburn, he scored a couple of tries. We had him on a few weeks ago, where he was very nice and said that he'd do another interview after my equipment didn't work on the original encounter. We know it happens from time to time, don't we? But even the efforts of him and the likes of Darville and Bartle, they weren't enough to overtake Stanningley on the day. That's a superb result, isn't it? 38-36.
Yeah, that was one, again, when I was flicking through the results. And the thing is, when you look on the RFL website, when you're looking at the results, you obviously you're going through, and I think they do them in alphabetical order rather than order of the division they're in. So as you're going through all the different, this is the S's, this is the M's, this is, and I saw that one come up, and I thought, West Bowling, and I had to look again. I thought, hang on, they've lost there, because it certainly did surprise me. So big up to Stanningley there. I mean, there were, as you said, there were 20 points to 12 up at half time. So, West Bowling have come back at them, but they've managed to hold them off. And have West Bowling lost their invincibility?
Well, they've lost the first game of the season. That's as much as what we can say, really, at this stage. They're still out on top by virtue of a much better points difference over an Alton Raiders side, which they beat by 48 points to 4 a few weeks ago. But Alton Raiders as well, with 5 wins this season. And then tucked in behind them, this is an amazing division so far, isn't it? You've got Heworth, Stanley, Pilks Recs, Skirlaugh, Clockface Miners, and Ince Rosebridge, all with 8 points there. And then your bottom 4 sees Egremont Rangers, 6 points, Crossfields with 6 points, Featherstone Lions and Thornhill Trojans unable to get off the mark so far in that one. Now, there's one game that I've missed out when I've been talking about Division 1, and this was actually the game that I was at. So following a couple of losses on the bounce, Pilkington Recs battled through to claim victory in an entertaining game against Skirlaugh in Impact Performance National Conference League Division 1. There was little to choose between the sides throughout, indicated by an early effort when Ian Stanley put Callum Lyon away on the left for Pilks, and he was just forced into touch, while at the other end, Skirlaugh prop Jack Gay knocked on near the line. Hooker John Gay then forced an error from Pilks John Keys with a forceful challenge. The visitors took advantage with a try from a scrum. Centre Billy Wardell making his way through 3 tackles to score, and second row Alex Gilby converted. A knock-on from the restart piled the pressure on Skirlaugh, and Rex took advantage when a deft Tom Connick kick was taken superbly by Josh O'Connell. It proved too far out for Kieran Napper to convert. 6 minutes later, Skirlaugh stretched their advantage with a smart try. Steve Batty found the smallest of holes in the defence with a dummy pass, and he shot through, running 25 metres before handing on to halfback partner Harrison Morrow to go the rest of the way. Gilby gold, and it was 4 points to 12 in favour of the visitors. The visitors, they were looking good until the 24th minute when Josh O'Connell intercepted and blazed 80 metres for an unconverted try. Pilkington Recs saw a further try ruled out on the half hour when Andy Morris was judged to have made a double movement. The host responded 3 minutes later when, on the back of an intercept and some solid set-up play, fullback Ben O'Connell kicked left and Lyon raced onto ground. This saw the sides go level at the break, 12 points each. Early in the second half, Ben O'Connell again showed his class with a long kick return, but it was Skirlaugh that deservedly returned to the lead when outstanding Josh Oliver fended his way over for a try goal by Gilby. It stayed that way until the hour when Napper scored from a Ryan Littrop pass, although the wayward goal kicking continued for the Pilks halfback, none from 4. 5 minutes later, Skirlaugh threw another intercept pass as Jack Kay looked to send his outside backs away, only for Ryan Stevens to then run 30 metres to the post. For the first time, Napper gold, and Pilks led 22 points to 16. Morris then made sure of the league points with a 72nd minute touchdown, bulldozing through from close range, with Napper's second goal giving the hosts a 28 points to 18 win. Now, as you can imagine, after a game of that magnitude, there had to be a disappointed loser and there had to be an elated victor. We'll hear from losing coach Lee Roberts first of all, and this is what he had to say. Okay, and with Lee Roberts. Lee, unfortunately you've gone down by 28 points to 18 today with Skirlaugh. What were your thoughts on the game?
I thought we started really well in the game. I thought we completed early on, got in the arm wrestle. And I thought we was good for our early lead. We was completing well, and I was really happy with our defensive efforts, especially in the first half. We know what we're coming up against here. We know Pilks are good. The pitch is difficult, we know that. It's a fast track, so we've had to try and adjust to that. But overall, I was happy with the start.
It feels like the one that got away this, though, because I mean, you look at in the final analysis, I think penalty count was in your favour, set restarts in your favour, and then unfortunately 2 intercept tries go against you.
Yeah, absolutely does feel as though it's one that got away. And you know, there's 10 points, we've lost by 10 points there, but
Didn't feel like it.
No, it feels a bit harsh, does that? It was a good game and Pilks were good for the win in the end. However, if we manage ourselves a little bit better, like you say about the intercepts, a few choices were made there, bad choices. And we've made some individual errors, quite a few of them, which we need to fix up. So we'll own them, we'll move on. But unfortunately, like you just said there, this one's got away, I feel.
I mean, when you do look at it, I mean, there was a couple of really good performers in your side, weren't there? I mean, you'll have to forgive me because I've just got numbers rather than seeing names on team sheets, but I did feel that your spine players really worked well together. You're sort of 9, 7 and 6.
Yeah, we've got a few players playing out of position. The halves are not halves normally, so we've got a few halves missing at the minute, but hey, with no excuses, you know, the span was really good. John Gay at 9 was outstanding until he got injured later on. And that helped us control the ruck. Loads of push up the middle. I think we got him early on, and that was why he was building the leads. But the errors have killed us in the end, I feel.
What's your next game?
So we've got a week off now, and then we play Fev Lions at home in 2 weeks' time. So we'll get back up for that. A few bodies back out on the pitch. That's one we need to be looking at winning and kicking on. You know, we're now fell into the mid-table of the league, so we know this is a tough division. There's no easy games, and Fev will come, as they always do, against Skirlaugh. They'll up the game and they'll come and give us it.
I mean, you look at that first month of the season and you were flying high, but as we've already spoken, you get a couple of losses in this particular division and you're back amongst the mid-table, aren't you?
Yeah, you feel as though you're back into a dogfight, and you're not, because there's a lot of good teams and everybody can beat everybody. This is a tough league. And you know, you've just got to be on it every week. It's difficult to get consistent sides out, but everybody's feeling that. But like you say, a couple of losses, you can be in the mix, mid to down the bottom end of the table. However, like you said, pre-game, if you put 3 or 4 wins together, you're up there and you're challenging the teams at the top.
Any other standouts for you today?
For which side?
For yours.
Oh, from our side. Yeah, like I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think Stephen Batty stood out in the halves. He's not an half, he's a 9. He's been doing a bit of 13 for us. I thought our pack, they were really good, especially in the first half. Pilks have some really big men, and I think that told later on in the game. But credit to our pack. We did take our chances early on, but it's just got away from us because we just went away from completing.
Thanks a lot, Lee.
Thank you.
Cheers. Lee Roberts there, proud of his efforts of this team, but ultimately felt it was the game that got away. Now we'll get some winning reaction. This coming from Jamie Smith, and it was nice to speak to him after a Pilkington Recs win. I'm joined by Jamie Smith. Jamie, it's nice to come here to Ruskin Park and actually see your side win. And what a good win it was in the end.
Yeah, we played a lot better than the last time he was here against Inns. We've had a few older heads back. Still got a few missing and still things to work on, but it's a good platform to build on now and get a few wins hopefully in the next run of games. You show a bit of character as well, because they're a tenacious side, aren't they? Yeah, they played well, to be fair to them. They had a big set, but I think as soon as we started moving around, then we got a bit more joy. And when you sort of look at it, I mean, you scored 2 interception tries, which was off good defence. Yeah. You know, because any defensive or any intercept is off great defence, isn't it? Yeah, defending long edges, we just try to send the winger up. And both times they got the intercepts, and one was 40 metres, the other one was 90 metres, something like that. I mean, they must be pleasing, you know, for you as a coach, because I know that you would work a lot on defence and talk about defence, wouldn't you? Yeah, you work defending long edges. So yeah, it does work when you get off the line. And certainly in that last sort of 20 minutes, I feel that your side realised this one's here for the taking. Yeah. I pulled our starting middles off at the start of the second half because I knew I wanted them to finish the game strong. We threw the starting middles back on for the last 20, and we went really strong that last 20 minutes. Both were outstanding as well in that period. Yeah, really good. I think the size helps them as well. Obviously, we've not got the biggest team, but we've got 2 big props who, when they get the ball, they're a bit difficult to stop. I know that as a coach, you never like picking out standout players, and this was very much a collective effort. But was there anybody who particularly stood out for you, maybe? So, because I mean, you were telling me before you've got a couple of people that have come back to the club. I think Ben O'Connell playing at fullback. It's only his second game. He's come back. He's come out of the army. He's playing for us now. Really, really good. I think he didn't drop one ball. I think his positioning was really good. He made a few good breaks. I think Ben was really good. Looked really likely a couple of times to get through. There's definitely plenty to it with them. Yeah, like I said, he's only been down 2 weeks, so he doesn't really know you're not familiar with all the calls and all the shape, But from what you can see, he's going to be a good player. Is that now your 5th fullback of the season? I think it might be the 6th, actually. Yeah, something like that, We just keep changing fullbacks. Just hopefully we get a kicker next time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rare off day as well for Kieran, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know you like talking him up on the podcast. I think he's missed 1 goal all year. I think he missed 4 today, something like that, 4 out of 6.
And 4 in a row as well.
Yeah, 4 in a row.
Which is, I feel like it's like a national lottery or something, that, because it never happened.
Yeah, so you can't talk about him anymore.
It probably means that we can talk about other players as well, doesn't it? Because he was also telling me about, was it Ian Stanley who's come back?
Yeah, I think Ian's 38, 39. He's come out of retirement. I think he's not played for 3 years now, maybe. He's come and played today at centre. He played 80 minutes, done a really good shift for us.
Does this mean that you can finally hang up your boots?
Hopefully. Hopefully, anyway. It depends. We'll see how we go on away games. Away games are always different to home games, as most of the teams will know.
But again, I know I'm jesting, but it's a cracking win, that. And like I was saying to Lee, the Skirlaugh coach, you get a couple of wins in this division, you're right up there again, aren't you?
Like I said, everyone takes points off each other. We've just looked at a few of the other results from today, and everyone's just taking points off each other. And it's just trying to get your home wins more than anything, and then see what you can pick up on the road. And I think it's the same for everyone.
Who have you got next up?
We've got 2 weekends off now, and then we're away at Heworth, home to West Bowling, and then I'm not sure of the other few. I think we've got 5 or 6 in a row then.
I mean, that's a real challenge. The next couple of games.
That's a tough 2 games. 2 teams that got promoted last year. They're obviously going well in this division, but we don't know anything about them. I don't think we've ever played either of them, so I don't know. I don't know anything about them. But we can just go be ourselves and see how we are.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers, Dave.
Again, Jamie Smith, very happy with the way that his side had gone about their business.
Yep. We're going to have to be careful here, Parky. Jamie Smith's going to have his own show shortly, as he's doing that many interviews a little late.
Yeah, but he's told us not to mention Kieran Napper's kicking.
Oh.
Because, apparently up until that point, he'd only missed 1 goal all season.
I was going to say, he missed the golden boot, wasn't he? And certainly I know our friend Eddie O'Sullivan used to rave on about him. And he is a good goal kicker. There's no ifs and buts about it.
He weren't a great goal kicker on this day, though. But thankfully, they had enough in the tank, did the Pilkington Recs side, to see off the attentions of Skirlaugh. I don't know where I kind of sit on this, because I did feel that this was a game that got away from Skirlaugh. They looked like they were in command around about just before the hour mark, because they were leading, and then all of a sudden they conceded that try to Napper. It gets ever so close, and from that minute on, it just felt like Pilkington Recs would win. They were also able to rotate the pack as well, so they put the 2 starting front rowers back on, which I think really, really helped them. But a smart win there for Pilkington Recs, and again pushes them up the table into contention for a playoff spot. I think you can say everybody's in contention for a playoff spot so far, can't you?
Well, I think that's what's been happening, hasn't it, in and around that area, that there are those who obviously we've been on about West Bowling being sort of riding high up till this week. They're still up there, but it's the same as you say, you look in the middle there, and you get ones that have gone on a bit of a run, and then suddenly they've lost 1 or 2, so they're pulled back down into the pack, and then you get 1 or 2, lower down who've lost their early games. They start putting a few together, and they start moving up. So it's like Formula One. They're all settling the ground down to see what grid position they're going to be getting at the end of the season.
Hopefully, we don't need any of those. Surprise things that get the cars that go on the field at the time when they have a crash or anything like that.
Yeah, we don't want the safety cars, no.
Hopefully we don't want the safety cars going on, to be fair. But it's intriguing, and everybody's sort of jostling for position, aren't they, at that level? And similar's happening in Division 2 as well. So to bring you the results from Division 2, some really, really good scores here, particularly for the Dewsbury clubs. So Dewsbury Moor Maroons 40, Barrow Island 0. More impressively there is that was achieved away from home for Dewsbury Maroons, who led by 10 points to 0 at half-time. That is a great result, that. A couple of tries for Innison. He also kicked 6 goals as well. Crossley also scoring a couple too. Then there was great news for Dewsbury Celtic as well. They hosted Milford and won by 42 points to 12 after leading 18 points to 0 at half-time. They came through with Copley scoring a try and kicking 7 goals, and Thomas popping up for 2 tries as well for Celtic. Mighton Warriors gave their all, really did test Waterhead Warriors. This was a closer game than even the scoreline suggests here, but Waterhead ending up winning that one by 28 points to 12. And it was Callum Murphy who proved the star there by grabbing. Well, it says 2 tries here. My sources tell me it was a hat trick that he got actually. So, but great to see Callum back, because I spoke to him at the time when they played in the Oldham Standard Cup final, because he missed that due to injury. So good to see him back on the field, and another one of those Lions class of 2022 impressing and continuing to impress. So well played to Waterhead, who managed to get the better of Myton Warriors. A battle of the Warriors it was there, wasn't it? By 28 points to 12. There was also a fascinating game as well up at Saddleworth Rangers. So Saddleworth were leading by 12 points to 8 at half-time against Woolston Rovers. Woolston Rovers, though, with 10 unanswered points in the second half to clinch it, 18 points to 12. And they're getting some smart results, aren't they, this season, Woolston?
Yeah, they've. When I've seen them play, I mean, they're not ultra fluent, but they're managing to win games. And when we spoke to Billy up there at Woolston, he's after every game he says the same. There are times in the game where they switch off, but it looks like this time they've managed to sort of keep on the game, being down at half time, and I've managed to keep on the game and come away with that win, because that is a really good win, and it keeps them, after last week's wobble, it keeps them up there or thereabouts.
It was a really good win as well for Shawcross Sharks. Get this for a result: Shawcross Sharks 44, Normanton Knights 6. I wasn't expecting that one at all. I thought that would be a close game.
Yeah. I think we were saying last week, what would the result be from this? Because we couldn't call it, as it were. But yeah, they've certainly done the business there, Shawcross.
Another side that did the business at the weekend, Wigan St Jude's. They hosted East Leeds, defeated them by 60 points to 20. Highlight there, as well as topping 60 points, was also centre Rhys Matthews scoring 4 tries too. What a result. What a resounding victory that is. And I've had the feeling that it's been coming for Wigan St Jude's, that one.
Yeah. On the other side of that coin, Parker, is what's going on at East Leeds. It's, after, the way they've got into this division, with the rugby they've played and some of the results they've had, I think there's only... They got 1 win, and that was a surprise win at the time, if I remember rightly, because we were really, and some of the rugby they play. I was saying the other week where I saw them against Woolston, they only had the bare minimum squad wise, but their efforts and some of the rugby they were playing was really, really good, and it's a shame. It's a crying shame.
So what does that mean to the table? Waterhead Warriors still out on top, 5 wins out of 5, 200 points scored in all of those 5 games, 32 conceded. I'm more impressed with that, to be honest. Sides just find it so difficult to score against them. And the fact that, 12 of those points have come from Myton Warriors gives an indication of just how good that performance was from Myton as well, doesn't it? Dewsbury Moor Maroons tucked in just behind with 5 wins out of 6. What a start to the season it's been for them. Woolston Rovers also sitting pretty in third with 5 wins out of 6. And then behind them, we've got Shawcross Sharks, 3 wins and a draw. They're undefeated as well. So that's come from just 4 games. So they have had a couple of games postponed and called off there as well. So those will be replayed at later times in the season. Tucked in just behind them are Dewsbury Celtic with 3 wins and 3 losses. Barrow Island, who started the season so positively, they've drifted down the division a little bit. 3 wins and 4 defeats now. Myton Warriors, they're starting to mount a little bit of a challenge beneath that with 2 wins and a draw and 3 losses. Then it's Wigan St Jude's, 2 wins, 4 losses. Saddleworth Rangers, 2 wins, 4 losses. Normanton Knights, surprisingly, 2 wins, 4 losses. Milford, 1 win, 5 losses. East Leeds propping the table up, 1 win and 5 defeats. But again, very little to choose. And I get the feeling that, like that Division 1, if one of those sides gets on a bit of a roll in mid-table, they'll be pushing for that top spot, won't they?
Yeah. Certainly the slight difference here I find is that where I think with the others, you look at the bottom ones and you think they could possibly string, a couple of results together. And a couple have shown that. Wigan St Pat's, for instance, have shown that they're able to do that. But to be honest, from an East Leeds point of view, 272 points against so far. They've certainly got to get another win under the belt very soon. Otherwise, I think they're looking at the wrong end and very quickly this season.
You feel they could be cut adrift quite quickly?
Yeah, I do. I mean, another level with Milford, but you look at the results of Milford. There's a couple of times they've had big scores put against them, but
they've been largely competitive in the rest of the
exactly. Yeah, and same as I say, I still aren't back to that game where I saw East Leeds. I don't know whether they're not playing that good, but they would certainly. That day I saw them, I thought, there's a little bit of confidence, get a couple of more bodies back, and they'll start moving up. But no, it's a shame. It is, honestly.
Division 3 is also warming up nicely as well, with a quarter of their season now completed. It is a smaller division, of course, this one, just the 10 teams involved. But the results this past weekend: Ellenborough Rangers 30, Bentley 10. So they've returned to winning ways and stay in second spot to Ellenborough Rangers. Ensingham 14, Driglington 22. That's a great result on the road, that, as far as Driglington are concerned. An even better result for Lee East at home to an on-form Millom, winning by 22 points to 20. Oldham St Anne's continued to set the pace, however, with their 5th win of the season. This, a very impressive 26 points to 20 defeat of Beverley, who we spoke to a few weeks ago. Seaton Rangers 22, Eastmoor Dragons 33. Sadly, that means that Seaton Dragons are currently bottom of the entire section with 1 win and 4 defeats. They've conceded 233 points in just 5 games. Then next to them, also towards the bottom end of the division, are Hensingham and Bentley with 1 win each, 5 losses. Eastmoor Dragons have climbed up with a couple of positive results in recent weeks. So I think, looking at Eastmoor, they've now won 2 on the bounce. So they lost the first 3 games of the season. They've now won 2 on the bounce. They're looking good. They're looking positive. They're looking like they can score some points as well, which is really, really good. And I wish them all the best, because they're like Millom in the 150th year, so they've got a lot to celebrate this particular season. Driglington just above them with 3 wins and 2 defeats. Beverley just above them. Now, a lot of people were saying Beverley would be the team to beat at this level, after perhaps in some respects being really unlucky to get relegated from Division 2 last season. But so far, this transition in Division 3 hasn't been all that straightforward for them. All their defeats have been really, really close, but they've got 3 of them now on the board. Lee East tucked in just above them with 4 wins and 2 losses. And then your top 3, Millom in third, 4 wins, 2 losses. Ellenborough Rangers, 4 wins, 2 losses. Oldham St Anne's out on top with 5 wins and 1 loss. Warming up there as well, isn't it, Steve?
It certainly is, Parker. It's there's a lot of teams there who you think, could, like we say with the others, there's nobody's out of it type of thing. Even down at the bottom, again, you look at their results and there's nothing that you would sort of say, they're done for. And the thing is with that division, because you're going to drop out of it, as that gets to sort of like, further on down.
Well, that's not strictly true, that, about dropping out of the competition, but you've got to get nominated again.
Yeah, which is so you don't want to be in that position, basically, because there's a crisis thing, because it I suppose to a certain extent it's out of your hands. Whereas if you're getting your act together on the field, and that's the time when it is your chance to do the business and not leave it to anybody else.
This weekend is a bit of a truncated fixture list, so it's bank holiday, of course. This was originally put in the diary for if there's any games that have been called off Basically, they would have first call this particular weekend. But I still find it interesting that they're playing at the same time as an international. But having said that, even from the look of it, even England and France can't be bothered with this international. So we'll carry on talking about National Conference Rugby League, shall we?
It's an absolute joke, Parky. Honestly, it's an absolute joke. I mean, we've just been through a World Cup and we're all about strengthening our team and getting, things right for the coach and everything. And then when they eventually managed to get a mid-year fixture together, it's of no relevance or importance to people. So, and if that's the top part, what message is that filtering down to the rest? It's wrong. It's wrong.
I do find it disappointing that so many players have pulled out of that or been pulled out of it by the clubs. Yeah. I'm sure there's, toing and froing there. And that's something that is probably for another podcast to discuss. But I just wanted to drop it in there.
No, you're right. You're absolutely spot on, mate.
So the fixtures in your National Conference Leagues this coming weekend starts on Friday night. Hensingham hosting Seaton Rangers. That'll be a cracker. Then in the Premier Division on Saturday, Kells against Wathbrow Hornets. Oh, another Cumbrian cracker there. And then Loch Lane taking on Siddle. That's no easy feat, that, for Siddle going over to Lane. I'm sure they're absolutely fizzing after losing out to Wigan St Pat's at the weekend, and they'll be hoping to get another win on the board. This, for me, is a real Titanic game. This is a relegation 4-pointer as it stands at the minute, isn't it? Wigan St Pat's hosting Leigh Miners Rangers.
Very much so, and I'm obviously not only that, it's a local derby as well, isn't it?
Exactly,
a massive local derby. So
exactly, and at this moment, as we record this, it's looking comfortably like where I'm going to be on Saturday afternoon. So I'm doubly looking forward to it. To be fair, two excellent clubs, by the way, two great hosts, two good sets of coaching staffs. Lots of players as well that I know off both sides, and it's going to be one heck of a game, this. York Acorn as well, who we've said are on form, they're going to need every inch of that form. They're hosting Hunslet ARLFC, so we'll get to judge them, how they've gone against it. But, strange things have happened, haven't we? Yeah. We've been talking about what we thought was the runaway juggernaut of West Bowling, and the wheels fell off at the weekend, didn't they? So, can somebody look to dismount Hunslet?
I think one wheel came off West Bowling at the weekend. That would be a bigger. It would be a bigger, I must admit. But stranger things have happened. Same as you say.
In Division 1, there's part 2 of the legacy that is Stanningley hosting West Bowling. So they've instantly got a chance to either put another win on the board of Stanningley against the Bradford rivals, or conversely, West Bowling could go back to winning Rays. That's an intriguing tie, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder what your mindset is when that happens. When you're facing the same opponent the week after. That's that psychologically that has got to be very, very interesting.
To be fair, I'm also wondering how many changes there will be amongst both sides, because as you heard, Lee Roberts talk about with his Skirlaugh side, there's that many changes that happen from week to week, and it's going to be the teams that end up being able to call on the more regular performers and more regular people getting more regular games that are going to be up at the top of these divisions, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've discussed it in the past. If you remember rightly, Jeremy Smith at Pelks was saying how many players he's used already this season.
I think he's up to 32, 33 now, and 6 fullbacks.
6 fullbacks? I don't know. He's lucky he's got 6 fullbacks. Very lucky in that respect. But same as you say, I mean, but that's the way of the community game, isn't it? It's people have got other things that they've got to consider. At the end of the day, they play the game for the love of the game and not as a livelihood. And that's got to be, kept into consideration with regards to jobs and family, etc. They are obviously have got to come first.
The other game in Division 1 sees Crossfields host Featherstone Lions. Now, that could be a good game as well, couldn't it? Featherstone Lions starting to get players back, starting to really be part of some competitive games.
I agree. I
What's
agree.
your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that, I think Crossfields are, certainly at home. We've seen them at home. They're a tidy outfit. And with obviously our good friend Danny Cassidy in the, his goal kicking looks like it's bang on form. Sort of getting it together. I think Crossfields could start to do some good things and start to move up that division.
I hope we've not dropped a napper on Danny.
We probably have. Yeah, you watch.
You watch it. He'll have a stinker. He'll miss them all at the weekend. I'm gonna if he does, I'm blaming it on you, Steve. And Danny, you can blame it on Steve as well. In Division 2, 2 fixtures to look forward to here. Saddleworth Rangers against Waterhead. That's an Oldham derby. Last year we'd be talking about that as an Oldham Standard Cup final.
I was just going to say that, Packy. That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Definitely. And, that's another cracking game, that, And then the other outstanding fixture, Shawcross Sharks against Woolston Rovers. So that's 3rd against 4th in Division 2 as it stands at the moment. Another intriguing
good one, yeah. Yeah, very good one. Two teams who are on the game at the moment, and yeah, that's what you want. Want good. Well, and I think again something we said before. Certainly around the bank holiday times, you should try and put on your derbies as such, because people have got time off work, etc. And if you can put a good local derby on, you're going to get people turning out, which is the pound in your pocket for the clubs.
Definitely. So that's your National Conference League done and dusted for another week. No doubt we'll be back with more next week. Now, let's take a look at, Northwest Men's and Yorkshire Men's Leagues. Where do you want to start with this one, Steve?
We'll start with Northwest Men's, Premier Division. First and foremost, we've had some sad news, I believe, Dave, with regards to Shevington Sharks chairman.
Yeah, the chairman, Ian Robinson, sadly passed away at the weekend. So all our thoughts are with everybody connected with both him and the Shevington Sharks Club. He's been, I always find it's the mark of a man with the stuff that gets written about them, when sadly these things happen. And there's been that many messages from clubs that have been handed on to Shevington Sharks. We just like to mention our own as well and say, when you get someone like that who's as involved in rugby league as Ian was, he's irreplaceable. But what a job he's done down there at Shevington Sharks. And like I said, all our thoughts are with his friends and family at this sad time.
Yeah, very much so, Dave. And I was down there for the game between Shevington Sharks and Orrell St James, because obviously a big local derby there in Wigan. Good crowd. And surprisingly, Orrell St James, as we've seen them, quite a lot, and we know what a good side they are. They were off the boil a little bit, and certainly in the first half to a certain degree. And within the first 10 minutes, Shevington took the chance and went 12-0 up. And it just looked as though Orrell just weren't getting it together at all. But they managed to stay in there, and it's one of those things where if you're not playing well and you can win a game, that's a sign of a good team. And eventually they did run out winners, 18 points to 14. At times both sides were guilty of complacency and just not having that composure at right at the last play or next to last play, where they make good breaks, and it was just sort of like, if you just take your time here, just don't try and score on every single effort, as it were, build pressure. We talk about that time and time again, and they were both guilty of squandering, various opportunities. And as I say, Oral St James ran out to the winners 18 points to 14, and obviously it was a sad day, as we've been saying there, with the chairman of Shevington passing away, but also it was. I spoke to Sean McHugh after the game, and he was telling me the other thing that the other thing that was being celebrated that day was Dave Alsall, who is Sam Alsall's father, who unfortunately passed away. I think it was maybe a couple of years ago, I think. And he said that after what has been a very tough weekend for the club, we must congratulate Oral St James on winning the inaugural Dave Alsall Memorial Trophy on Saturday. It was lovely for Tracy and Sam to come along and present the trophy on the day. A game played in the right spirit. And Oral replied to that: "Thanks for your kind words, Shevington. It's an honour for us as a club to take part in this fixture in remembrance of Dave. A game always played in the right spirit." And Sean was telling me all about, sort of how Dave was really, heavily involved with the, the Shevington club, and Sam being there. But obviously he had links with Oral as well. So that's how the two, sort of intertwine, as it were. And to be fair, as we've said before, if you want a memorial match and you can get your two rivals playing against each other, then there's no better advertisement. So Shevington Sharks, they're 14, Oral St James 18. Other results in that division saw Latchford Albion take on Hindley, and they were winners 34 points to 18. And Blackbrook, they're 22, Alton Farmers Hornets 12. So that was the Premier Division.
That's a cracking result, that, for Blackbrook. They seem to be playing some really good stuff this season.
Yeah, I must admit, when I saw them against Latchford, it was a Thursday a couple of weeks ago. Starting off, they were a little bit, not shaky, they were just a bit tentative, I think it was. But once they managed to get a nice lead under their belt, they got a bit more confidence, and certainly threw the ball about and played some really, really good rugby. So Division 1, Wigan St Cuthbert's 30, Cadishead Rhinos 16, Tatooeth Crusaders A 22, Foley Lane 30, Salford City Roosters 24, Ulverston 56. That is a really, really good win, because we were on about before about Sunslick going over to Kells and saying that's a long haul, and obviously Ulverston to Salford City Roosters is no cakewalk. So to come across with that sort of win is a big one. And then we've got Dalton 26, West Dalton Lions 20. Closer for
front thing, that one.
Very. To be fair, West Dalton Lions are just missing out. I mean, they're losing some very close games. And then we've got Charlie Panthers 10, Wigan Springview 28. So a good win there for Wigan Springview. And moving over into Division 2, which saw Walney Central take on Rochdale Mayfield A. And it was Walney Central 54, Rochdale Mayfield A 10.
Good result.
It certainly was. Then we had Roost Pioneers. Sod's Law, that the computer starts to freeze.
Is that Roost Pioneers 30, Gulben Parkside 38?
It could well be. Let me see. Division 2. It's like Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah, Roost Pioneers 30, Gulben Parkside 38. Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of score you like, that, Parky, isn't it? But it's still a close game, isn't it?
Stop it, keep saying that type of stuff. I like most rugby league. You can find something appealing in most rugby league matches. But yeah, I do like. I've often said my sort of favourite sort of game is about 28-24.
28-24, 30-38. That would have been interesting, I must admit. And again, take your hats off to Goulburn. it's a good drive up there to Roost Pioneers first and foremost, and obviously they were toppled last week from the unbeaten form, but you would have thought at home they would have been in a hard nut to crack. So well done, Goulburn, for that. Then we got Newton Storm. They were at home against Highpool Tigers, and they were massive winners, 54 points to 12. So obviously getting a few bodies back and managing to overturn Highpool Tigers. And then we've got Burtonwood Bridge 38, Lee Miners Rangers A 16.
That's an impressive result for Burtonwood Bridge. They seem to be, having they've got the basis of a very, very good season going on there at the minute, haven't they?
They have. I mean, if you remember right now, that I covered the Warrington finals at Victoria Park when they played Crossfields, and they lost in that. But obviously, I mean, the performance-wise was there or thereabouts, and they've taken that form, I think, into the league and doing very well. Matty's got them, sort of really running well. So they'll be well pleased with that. So there you go. That is Division 2. Moving on into Division 3. We've got Crossfields A 58, Langworthy Reds 6. Big win there for Crossfields A. Blackpool Scorpions 6, Higginshaw 28. Garswood Stags 24, West Bank Bears 32. So good
that
win
was
there.
So close to my favourite score.
Good win there for West Bank Bears, I must admit.
Really good win, that. Really good win for West Bank.
And then we've got Rochdale Hornets 27, Clockface Chargers A 10. Again, good win.
Is that their first win of the season for Rochdale Hornets?
It might well be, because I think they've been close games. Clockface Chargers, though, still, I know they've had a couple of big scores against them. Then we're going into Division 4. Division 4 saw Liverpool Lizards take on Garswood Stags Reserves. Yes, listen to this. Liverpool Lizards 40, Garswood Stag Reserves 10. An absolutely huge result there for Liverpool Lizards. Not only in the amount of obviously points they put on the board, but I mean that will give them so much confidence there moving forward. Then moving down, Culture Eagles, they welcome Runcorn Highfield over to Culture, and it was Culture Eagles 10, Runcorn Highfield 54.
They're playing some superb stuff at the moment, aren't they, Runcorn Highfield?
Ironically, they're getting a good run of games, aren't they? Which obviously they weren't used to last year, so it makes you wonder, is that standing them in good stead? And here's one for you, Parkett. This is one that you would like. Bolton, RLFC 19, Preston, South Ribble Rabbitohs 18. Local derby. How's about that for 1 point?
And 1 pointer. One point ended up winning the day.
So that's Division 4. Moving down into the Alliance Division. I think there was just one game played there, and that was Oldham St Anne's A. They took on Wigan St Jude's A. And Oldham St Anne's were victorious 48 points to 4. So
I've got another result as well. Ince Bridge A20, Lee East A24.
Yeah, that was on the Friday, wasn't it? Yeah. So
yeah.
Just got on one. Yeah, that's a good win that for Lee East A.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much. Oh yeah. It's warming up nicely there as well, isn't it? And we've got a break, haven't we, from league fixtures this weekend because all the cup competitions start.
They do. They all start to kick in.
I run through the fixtures here for them.
Yep, go on, fire away, mate.
So in the North West Men's League Cup, we've got Heysham Atoms hosting Hindley, Chorley Panthers going over to play against Folly Lane, Shevington Sharks on the road at Halton Farmouth Hornets, Latchford Albion are hosting Wigan Springview, and Ashton Bears at home to Salford City Roosters. In the North West Men's League Trophy, it's Banky Bulls taking on Culture Eagles, Goulburn Parkside hosting Highpool Tigers, Rochdale Hornets travel up to Preston and South Ribble Rabbitohs. I think this looks like a tasty fixture. It's Runcorn Highfield at home to Newton Storm, Higginshaw against Langworthy Reds, West Bank Bears at home to Walney Central, and Burtonwood Bridge travelling up to Garswood Stags. I say travelling, there's not that much of a distance there, is there? Really?
No, it's probably a good walk.
And then in the Alliance Cup, we've got Rochdale Mayfield A hosting Woolston Rovers A, We've got Ince Bridge A away at Waterhead Warriors A. Clockface Chargers A host Ashton Burrs A. Lee Miners Rangers A go over to face Crossfields A. And Thattor Heath Crusaders A host Oldham St Anne's A. That's your fixtures this coming weekend from the Northwest Men's League competitions, where we see Northwest Men's League Cup, Northwest Men's League Trophy, and the Alliance Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, it's just, the competition's obviously coming round. Well, I say early-ish. I mean, I think there's about 5 games under the belt already, and I know from a Newton point of view, they'll be keen to, so they'll do the best they can, like last year. But yeah, that'll be an interesting game going over to Runcorn Highfield, because Runcorn all want to test the metal as well. They're doing really well, as we'd say, going across the bridge. Don't forget to pay your toll. That's the thing.
Yeah, you get fined if you don't go and pay, don't you, on the day? So yes, as I found out to my chagrin in the past, to be fair. Right, looking at Yorkshire Men's League. Well, the fixtures that took place last week in the Premier Division saw Doncaster Tollbar 40, Almonry Spartans 8, Preston Warriors 26, Newson Panthers 14, King Cross Park 22, Westgate Common 18. That's an outstanding result, that, for King Cross Park, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much.
In Division 1, we've got Featherstone Rovers 40, Cutsite Raiders 0, Stanley Rangers 22, Ossett Trinity Tigers 22. And then we have Keighley Albion 22, Hullwyke 10. Then Division 2, Farnley Falcons 16, Illingworth 24. Greetling All-Rounders against Queensbury was postponed, while Bradford Dudley Hill 50, Mould Green 0. Odsal Sedberg 14, Kirkburton Cougars 38. A good result there for Kirkburton Cougars as well, it must be said. And to be honest, for Bradford Dudley Hill. So it's nice to see them starting to maybe get back on a roll, because as we all know, they withdrew from the National Conference League at the end of last season. So I hope it's the start of a revival for them, because that's a famous old name. Once upon a time won that National Conference League. So it would be nice to see them back involved at some point in the near future. In Division 3, we've got Garforth Tigers 10, Seacroft Sharks 34, Methley Warriors 36, Birstall Victorias 14, Sherburn Bears 4, Castleford Panthers 32, and Underbank Rangers 52, Wyke 22. Division 4A, Criggleston All Blacks 28, Goole Vikings 24, Harrogate Hawks 0, Batley Boys 24. I think that one was given to Batley Boys.
Yeah.
Leeds Ackies 8, Bramley Buffaloes 66. Good result, that one, for Bramley Buffaloes. And Westgate Common A 38, York St John Barbarians 10. Division 4B, Keighley Albion Academy 6, West Craven Warriors 26, Birkinshaw Blue Dogs 40, King Cross Park Academy 6, Brighouse Rangers A 34, Mould Green 6, and non result there for Todmorden against Newson Panthers. Then in Division 4C, no result between Sherwood Bullfront and Sheffield Forgers. Dodworth Miners 32, Hemsworth Dragons 22. No results at all from the Hull division, where Skirlaugh Bulls against Beverley was postponed, West Hull against Myton Warriors was postponed, and Cottingham Tigers against East Hull was, you guessed it, postponed. And then in the National Conference League East, Hunslet ARLFC 32, York Acorn 24. Is that going to have some sort of bearing?
Do you know what I was just thinking on that one, Parker?
Yeah. Lock Lane against Heworth, so no result. Featherstone Lions 0, Normanton Knights 24, Ulton Raiders 52, Normanton Knights 0. So I think I know what's happened there. So Featherstone Lions couldn't raise a team, so they've been given the results. And so Normanton Knights quickly said to Ulton Raiders, I tell you what, we'll play you, and ended up losing that one.
Oh.
Just the 2 fixtures to tell you about this coming weekend as far as the Yorkshire men's competition is concerned. On Friday in Division 4A, it's Harrogate Hawks due to host Leeds Ackies. And on Saturday, Bentley due to host Lock Lane. Do check with your clubs, check on social media, because sometimes we set these fixtures and they don't take place, do they, on the actual day. So do check them out. And if you hear of a game that doesn't take place, let us know as well, because we like to be as accurate as we can.
Yeah.
And if there's any games there that did take place that we didn't mention, then again, let us know. You can do that via at 13ProAmRL via Twitter, or you can drop me a message, Dave Parkinson RL, and I'll mention it on here next week. Right, let's do a quick run through of what else has happened. So in the Cumberland League, interesting result for Cockermouth Tigers. They won 46-22 against Ellenborough Rangers A. But more importantly for me is that Kev Holman is back on the field. So he's a guy that I went on tour with to Fiji. And unfortunately, he's been out for an extended period with a knee injury, I think. So to get him back on the field, back in try-scoring form, is probably a bit of a bonus, really. Although Ellenborough Rangers did go down by 46 points to 22. Now, Egremont Rangers, they edged a close-run thing at Lauca by 20 points to 14, thanks to tries by Sam Williams, Jack Pay, Dylan Scott, and Luke Pay, with Caden Block adding a couple of goals. Dean Hay bagged a brace for the home side. Mitchell Todd popped in, and Jamie Scott landed one conversion. Elsewhere, Kelsey prevailed 44 points to 8 at Hensingham A, who were 20 points to 8 behind at the interval, but were unable to add tries by Kyra Lofthouse and Luca Hiddleston. The visitors posted an Aaron Burns hat-trick, a Dan Starkey brace, and touchdowns for Daniel Greers, Dylan Telford, Corey Chambers, and Jamie Jennings, 4 of which were converted by Burns. Elsewhere, Dissington, they strolled to a 58 points to 0 win at Glasson Rangers. Loads of try scorers in that one. And Wathbrow Hornets A also cruised to a 50 points to 6 win at Maryport. So lots and lots of things happening in the Holman, Eagles and Cumberland League. And the fixtures for this weekend sees the Cumberland Cup return to action. So in the preliminary round, it's going to be Glasson Rangers against Hensingham A, Wathbrow Hornets A against Lauca, and in the quarterfinals, so there must have been some other games that were played in this competition at some point, Maryport take on Kells A, Cockermouth Titans host Egremont Rangers. That's all your action summed up in the Cumberland League. One game to tell you about from the Wheelchair Super League. This was between Hull and London Roosters, and a great win for Hull. They won by 36 points to 26. That's more like a rugby league score. That sounds like an absolute fantastic.
I was just
game.
going to say that because usually the scores in there are usually big and can be, quite a large gap, to be fair. So yeah, that is a very, very good game and a good score.
And if we go off what Dave Abel was telling us last week, that's probably equivalent to like a 20 points to 12 win in the running. So that sounds like an absolutely top game, that, in fairness. And I believe that my new friend Tristan Norfolk grabbed a couple of tries as well. So good to see him backing up and his form from last week, and the call up to the England squad as well, with another powerful performance. So also in the Wheelchair, I like to mention some of these other ones as well, because there's a few things happening, and if we look at, you've got a South Division that involves the Argonauts and Woodlands Warriors, Gravesend Dynamite, and Medway Dragons. And I think it's great that this, sport is now going wider. It's now going further. Although I understand that Gravesend has been around for at least 10 years, because there's some players there that have been given, marks to mementos.
Yeah.
To mark lengths of period of time that they've been down there. It's absolutely fantastic, the kind of stuff that's happening down in the south with Wheelchair Rugby League. And I look forward to, over the next few weeks, bringing you an interview with Gravesend, who've already said that they're well keen to get involved in a chat. So I look forward to bringing you that. In the Southern Conference League, we had North Hearts Crusaders and West Warriors, which was postponed. East Rhinos 4, Brentwood Eels 24, London Chargers 44, Bristol All Golds 10. Interesting there. No fixtures this coming weekend there. Then if we look at Barrow, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here. So we've gone from the Southern Conference League back up to Barrow. But in the Furnace Tiles League last week, it was Barrow Island 44, Millom 16, Walney Central 14, Askham 16, and Dalton 0, Ulverston 24. This coming Friday, the Knockout Cup comes into being in the Barrow Amateur Rugby League, and it sees Walney Central host Dalton, Ulverston host Askham, Barrow Island at home to Hindpool. And then we have the London Premier Division, which also sees some fixtures this coming weekend. Brixton Bulls host Elmbridge Eagles, London Chargers A host Medway Dragons, London Scholars A are at home to West's Warriors. So lots and lots of things happening elsewhere in the league, Steve.
Yeah, plenty going on, Parky. Not just in the normal game. It's getting up and down the country, but also it is the wheelchair. It's great for seeing it's getting the fixtures out there, and I believe the PDRL's getting itself together. That's not going to be too far off as well.
Well, to be fair, they've had a couple of rounds of fixtures of that, but they're done on festival basis. So, there was, one that was hosted the other week at Robin Park, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I've also seen as well that Nick Kennedy's been tweeting about how well his Castleford side has done in the last round of fixtures with 2 wins. So, great to see them all doing particularly well in that one. Now, I think it's about time that we brought you another guest. And I do love the fact that we get to speak to a wide breadth of people that are involved in Community Rugby League. And I've got to say, one of the more interesting chats that I've had is with this next guest. So Craig Evans, he's the chairman of Millom. We found out all about the Millom Club and his own story and how they're both intrinsically linked. So as you know, here on the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show, we do love talking to different people from different clubs about a whole range of different things. And I'm really pleased to be joined on the other end of the line by Craig Evans, who's involved with Millom. And I've got to say, Craig, welcome to the show, first of all.
Yes, Dave, thank you.
Now, tell me a little bit about your involvement with Millom. How did you get involved in the first place?
My involvement was, apart from me granddad or my mum pushing me to the old field over Salthouse Road to watch my dad play and my uncles play. I started in 1974 when Millom had just played Hunslet in the Cup, and the town was buzzing, so it was a good time to start the mini rugby programme. I was in 1974. Wasn't really age group. It was a bunch of lads from 7 years old to about 14. And we first game was against Askham, so we had a few games amongst the same teams because there wasn't many teams in 1974 around our area. And then it grew from there, the mini side of things. So we were 7 and 8, but we in the same team as 13, 14-year-olds. But the main thing was that we were playing rugby league for Millom.
And enjoying it as well.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We'd play through the winter. We always got hot Vimto and a cup of soup to go on with.
I tell you what, I'm sold already, to be honest, Craig.
So a lot of us went for that, really, because it was like a treat. So, from the mini rugby, I went through every age group, that combined age group, and then the mini grew very fast, and then we'd play under 10s, 12s, 11s, 14s, up to youth rugby, 15s, 16s, 17s, 19s, of course, and then I actually got in the first team before the A team.
Did you?
That was it was an introduction, but it didn't last very long. In the 80s, Millom were full of international players and ex-pros and Cumbria county players. So I got a taste, and I was backwards and forwards from the A team and the first team, however it went. So it was a good start. I was only 17 at the time, and so enjoyed it and carried on. Played till open age till I was about 34, I think. I think my knee went at Lee East, and that was the end of my playing career. I tried to carry on, but my head said do it, but my knee said you can't do it.
Yeah, your knee said that you've had enough.
During my playing career and after my career, I went back to mini coaching. Went back and helped the mini coaches who were taking the kids. Went to youth rugby, coached them, coached the second team, and then I progressed. I ended up as the first team coach. So I covered most angles of Millom Amateur Rugby League.
Yeah,
as a player and a coach.
It certainly sounds like it. You've done tremendously well there, with regards to the length and breadth of experience that you've got there with Millom. You're man and boy, really, aren't you?
Yeah. So I think I'm not 60, but I've nearly had 50 years at the club as a kid player, come right through, really. I'm now chairman of the club, of the committee. So
how did that come along, sort of you becoming chairman, because a lot of people, tend to say that they're not really sure how they ended up on committees and stuff, but and then getting more responsibility as well. So what was your sort of journey onto the committee side of things after, being a player and a coach?
Oh, sorry. I'd finished playing, but as you know, National Conference League, we're either in Leigh one week or Wakefield another week. So I was still jumping on the bus, supporting the lads. I was helping out around the ground. I was a volunteer, but not on the committee. And then Peter Date, who was the chairman, he'd had over 50 years as well as a club, but he was ready to retire. His grandchildren were playing, so he wanted to look at the club through a different pair of eyes, really, support his grandchildren, and nobody came forward for the chairman's position. I think because I was always on the fringes of the committee, but never really joined the committee. I got asked, I thought about it, asked a few people, and then said yes. So I think this is me fourth year as chairman.
Was that pretty daunting, sort of taking over as chairman initially?
Yeah, I did think about it. I always had a voice in the club. They always allowed me to have a voice within the club because I'd been there a lot longer than some people on the committee, and my opinion was always asked. Whether it was followed, I don't know. But yeah, I was proud to accept it in a way. I'm still proud to be part of the setup. So
I found it quite interesting how you said that. Unfortunately, your playing days were ended due to an injury at Lee East, which, for anybody listening who, is perhaps tuning into the show for the first time, was actually my community club. So there's a bit of joined history there in some respects, Craig.
Yeah, maybe not what I wanted.
No, nobody would want that, to be fair. But I'm trying to make you feel better about it.
It's one of them grounds, actually, because there's a lad called Keith Pemberton. He just finished from Barra, and he did the same. He did the same cruciate ACL at the same ground 2 years prior to mine.
And to be fair, this was at a time when, because nowadays you'd have an operation, you'd be back up and out and playing rugby again probably 12 months later, wouldn't you? But at this sort of time, there wasn't sort of maybe perhaps the advancements, they didn't know about it as much, and it finished a lot of careers off, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Maybe I was getting long in the tooth as well. I was mid-30s, still hanging on to the dream for playing for Millom, and then I think that was my final push, chuck your boots in River Dun on your way home kind of scenario. But
so
we wouldn't swap it for anything, I don't think.
No. So you've seen basically the full journey that Millom have had of going into the national conference and developing in the way that it has. And, we are talking, of course, Millom being one of the, if not, the oldest community rugby league clubs out there, aren't we?
Yeah. we joined the national conference in 1986, one of the founding teams, and as regards to the oldest community club, we'd established in 1873. There was some teams, amateur community clubs, started prior to us, but I think 1906 was a big year when a lot of teams folded. The league structure changed in the Northern Union, as it was. It sort of like went to from the Yorkshire and Lancashire competitions. They joined as one league. So the weaker clubs, I should say, folded. Ulverston and Askham on our doorstep. They were set up before us. One Ulverston 72 and Askham in 1871. We were 73, but we carried on. We come out of the Lancashire competition and we come back to Cumberland, whereas Ulverston and Askham and other teams they folded and restarted 30, 40 years later.
I see. Okay.
So they had a break, whereas we continued. We kept the same club, but left one competition to join another competition. So that's, and then we continued through the war. We were in the combination league of where we played St Helens second teams, your Wigan second teams, your Runcorns in them days, a team called Pemberton. We were involved with that. So I think it'd be hard to find another club that's travelled even now 8 more miles in its lifetime than what Millom Rugby League has. So
it's certainly really impressive pedigree, isn't it? And this is something that I'm always really, really conscious of, because I know that you always want to acknowledge kind of where a club is now, but you've got to pay tribute, haven't you? To kind of what came before. How the well was dug, if you like.
That's right. In the 1870s, we were a mining community and an ironworks community. I think the ironworks was one of the leading businesses in the world for coming from Cumberland, Millom in Cumberland. The ironworks were massive. The people who were running them were employing people who worked with Robert Louis Stevenson's the Rocket Man. They could headhunt anybody they wanted. Excuse me. The industry was that powerful. So, excuse me. So, with a lot of work here, your people in those days followed where the work was. Welshmen, Irishmen, Cornish people with mining pedigree, all flocked to Millom. And in 1873, the managing directors of Millom Ironworks and Hod Barrett Mining Company met on 5th of December 1873 at the Station Hotel. It was a Wednesday night, actually, and I sort of like to picture what was going on. They couldn't have just set up a meeting to start a rugby club. There must have been a pull by the people of the community to want to set up. But initially, it was middle class people who'd set it up. I've got some team sheets and names that belong to high profile jobs, so I could recognise who set it up, who was playing, and within 20 years or something, the working class people started to play for Millom. It was they sort of like diluted the middle class people, and it became a working class game.
I mean, of course, when it all first started off and people started playing rugby, it was like a middle class pursuit, wasn't it? In a lot of respects.
It was, yeah. And I've got evidence of it in our town.
Wow.
We had I wouldn't call them supermarkets now in them doors, but massive business shops. Even those people were involved. Justice of the Peace, they were involved in it. The main businessman people were involved with Millom Rugby, well, Millom football, it was called in those days when everything was called football. George, it's people who own shipping companies. Everybody in the 1880s, 70s wanted to be part of, well, they still do, in my opinion, wanted to be part of Millom Club. And then and the strength of the game must have grew, because in 1901, I've got six different teams playing in the Millom town.
So they're a town competition.
Yeah.
So was this sort of like workplaces, like you hear the the works playing off against each other, or was this sort of like some organised league structure?
It was like Millom St George's had a team, which is Protestants, and Millom St James's had a team. So we had that in the town, and we also had like the Rope Lads, which was that's some kind of workshop in the thing. So working areas put teams together, and
it's a fascinating social commentary, really, as well, isn't it, Craig?
Oh, it's fantastic! Yeah, it's brilliant. Millom White Star. I'm still researching that. I don't know if it's anything to do with the Titanic White Star, but there's a lot of teams around the country with White Star connected to them.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting in itself, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So we got like that, and then that competition we had. We didn't. I wasn't there. The main club brought all the other clubs together as we would call them, feeder clubs now. Mm-hmm. So we maybe had Billy Eagers coming from Millom Rovers, which was one end of the town, and maybe had Edward Knowles from the Havrig Club, which is a mile outside of Millom. So we had a pretty good pull.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing as well that at this sort of stage, you've mentioned some of the the big employees in the town. Was this sort of like Millom being quite a big town? Because anybody who's been near it over the last sort of 10, 20 years, it seems quite a small place now, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. When those industries were in full bloom, the community rose to 10,000 people.
Right.
There's also a lot of agriculture around here as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
and fishing. So, but as it happened, Millom Ironworks had a sports facility themselves. They had cricket clubs, football clubs. In those days, your billiards, your snooker, everything they could put the name to, they had it. And the Ironworks closed in 1968, and 13th of September, Black Friday we call it in Millom, 1968. And it happened, Millom were playing at Salthouse, but people who were running Millom in the 60s fittingly took over the ground of Millom Ironworks Sports Club. So it was nearly 100 years later, but Millom Football Club fittingly took over the people who started them off.
Wow.
And that's how I like to take it up.
That's almost going around in full circle, that, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah.
Really, really, really interesting. And so this sort of tells me that they've not always been at the current ground then. When did that end up being built?
Coronation Field was 1970. Prior to that, they played at, I like to call it the historical ground of Salthouse Road. It's where your county games that were played. Your Billy Fish from Warrington's and your big stars would play against Cumberland in the early part of the 1900s. The first ground they ever went to was Millom Cricket Club.
Okay.
That was already in place. The cricket club was in place 1970, so 3 years later. Obviously, cricket being summer, the rugby played at the cricket ground in the winter. That lasted for about 12 years, and they went to Salthouse Road. The club was the Station Hotel, and the Castle Hotel worked between the two. There were pubs, really. They had a breakaway from Salthouse. They went to another ground in Devonshire Road, which belonged again to the Ironworks. That only lasted a season. And there was a sports field over Queen's Park, which was another area of the town. But that only lasted another year before they went back to Salthouse. And then for over 7, apart from the 2 years, they played at Salthouse for over 70 years. And then ended up at Coronation Field, where we are today. But they went there. The fields were allotment. The front field was allotments. So
was it?
Work to do.
Right. Okay.
And the back field, the training field, was the cricket field. So the pavilion was in place. So they had a clubhouse, ready-made clubhouse, and then took a year to get the front field sorted to some description.
Fascinating. I mean, I love sort of hearing about different parts of towns and obviously moving through, and the fact, because obviously I've been up to Millom a couple of times, and I'm thinking, wow, I can't imagine that being allotments.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a big thing in the Victorian day, allotments. Apparently, well, it still is now, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's A+ field now, mind. We've had a lot of work done on it. So thanks to the Rugby League, it's a top class front field now.
It is a magnificent facility now, isn't it? And it does everybody at the club so much proud. That.
Oh yeah. With even the people on a Saturday, the first thing they say is, "Phil looks good, pal," in the Millom way, and even the backfield, the training fields, we've just had that drained 2 years ago. So that's picked that field up brilliantly. So that lets the kids maybe spoils the kids' entertainment. They can't slide in muddy puddles as much as they used to do. They've got to learn the basic skills more rather than.
I do like that as well, though, because kids will be kids. If there's a big puddle to slide in, they're going to slide in it out there.
It's part of it, isn't it? So, we've maybe took that away from them, but if it helps with basic skills, so be it.
What I love as well is the fact that, despite being so historical, you're also looking towards the future, aren't you? So you've mentioned there about drainage on the backfield. Is there any other, plans, medium to long term, for improvements around the place?
Yeah, we've had top class floodlights in place for a few years now. The car park is spot on. People can come park safely. 7-8 years ago, you'd have to drive through puddles. So we've got a lot of hard standing for people. Disabilities can get right to the club now. A lot of things are in place, but with it being a volunteer-run club, there's always something that stares at you or something breaks. We've got plans now for solar panels. We're halfway through that plan. The club is getting used. It's booked constantly, so we're trying to extend the lounge.
Okay.
We've got a lounge, so there's another thing we're looking at. Well, that's in place at the moment. It's just gone to the designers. So yeah, we don't stand still really. We've had a kids park installed, so you could come and watch Millom play on a Saturday. Your kids can play. You don't have to look for babysitters or anything. You can put them on the park, stand near the park, keep one eye on them and one eye on the rugby. So I think we've covered most bases, but there's always something. We've got entertainment on after the matches for family time, 5 o'clock till 7. So that's watch the rugby, bring your kids in the club, sit down, watch the entertainment, have a drink, have a crack to the players committee, the away players. People keep coming back, as we know, so nice to see old faces. So, and then go home, take the kids to bed. If they've got no kids, they can stay.
I was going to say, and come out again then.
Yeah, well, it saves on the. It's good for everybody really, because people don't have to go and get babysitters. They can have a day out, and a drink and a game of rugby with the kids. So it's everything's family based. That not everything. So, a large chunk of what we do is around families. So it's working well at the moment. I don't want to curse it. So.
Hey, I'll touch wood, and let's drink to it that it carries on. I've got to say as well, that certainly it would be fair to say that over the last few years, Millom's had a few harsh times, haven't they? Because they currently find themselves in Division 3 of the National Conference. But I've got to say that, there's some excellent young players that are coming through the system there at the moment. I was fortunate to be away with Jack Newbegin, with the and Rio McQuiston, with the under-19s last year when they played in Italy, and they're the sort of guys that you're looking to really build the club around, aren't they? And the team moving forward. And it's great to see both of them playing with great confidence this season. And more importantly, Millom getting the wins, because currently, I know we're only 5 games into the season. I don't want to jinx anything, but you're sitting there quite in a handsome position, aren't you?
Yeah, second as we lie at the moment. Yeah, Jack and Rio. Yeah, two great examples for coming through the mini rugby league system. Great players, two good, very good athletes. They're always on the as they say, 1, 2, 3 players of the match. They did fantastic in Europe. It was brilliant, and they brought that back. Young kids are looking at them too. We've got another one, Jackson Evans. He's a young lad. He's playing on the wing. He's a bit of an halfback. The coach Thomas, he's introducing him to open age rugby. So he scored it. I think he scored 7 tries in 5 games or something.
Oh, that's a good hit rate, isn't it?
Yeah, I shouldn't name drop. People will be looking for him on Saturday. But there's another one there. But they've got another lad, Kyle Evans. He's only 20, and Keane McPherson, they're the 19, 20 age. But we've also got to look at the lads who've been there, the Kelly brothers, really.
Oh, tremendous servants.
Yeah. Dane's on his last legs, but he enjoys it that much. He said this is his last season. So we've got another lad, Lee Poss. He's playing out of his skin. He's had 3 years at Workington, and you can just see he's been tuned finally. Bit tuned, come back a better player, confident player.
And he's another lad that I know actually, because I went on tour to Fiji with him, Posse. So yeah,
great. Him and Marcus O'Brien, I think.
Great to sort of like hear that he's he's back. He's back with Millom, playing particularly well, as you say, a much more confident player. And I know certainly he's had to work really, really hard over the last few years, because he picked up a terrible injury while we were over there in Fiji. So it's great to sort of see him and hear his name mentioned again. Yeah,
he's loving it. He's loving it.
That's what
we do when we win, though, don't we?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's always easier when you are winning. So I guess that sort of like brings me on to the fact that is it Tom, the coach, who's been there quite a while, both as a player.
Tom Sibley, yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice that he's sort of stuck around as well, isn't it? And he's probably getting the rewards for that loyalty now with those young players that you mentioned coming through.
He is, yeah. He come through the mini system, and then he went missing for a few years, and we went to withdraw one day, and we were a bit short, and we got him sorted, and he's played ever since. He got man of the match that day. We got a good hiding, by the way. I think it was in the cup. So he's put another 20 odd years in. It's a full-time job for him. He's organising training and sometimes chasing people for a Saturday. He's had a fantastic career. He's a community lion, I think he was. He went on tour. He's met a lot of friends. Millom's only won a National Conference League 3 times, and he's one of the coaches that have won it. So the other 2 were ex-professional coaches, Stephen Mossop and David Cairns.
So were they like Coach of the Year awards, or actually winning leagues in the conference?
I think David Cairns won the conference as it was at the time. I think Stephen Mossop won the first. Thomas won the 3rd division. So whatever division you're in, your highlight is to win it.
Yeah, definitely.
As I say, from 1986, we've only ever won 3, and Thomas is amongst the best. Really, he's played longer than he should do. He's had a lot of injuries, but he's a young stalwart. I should
I like that description.
Yeah. He's informed the club that this is his last year, so he's got help now. Brad Crellin's come back from Barra, so Brad's helping him. Whether it's a transition period, we'll wait and see. But people can't speak highly of Thomas, not just in Millom,
yes,
but around Cumbria and wider rugby league circles.
I mean, that's always one of the great pleasures that I have whenever I speak to a Cumbrian club, is that you're all really appreciative of each other's each other's issues and each other's efforts. There seems to be more, I don't know, camaraderie amongst the Cumbrian clubs. Would I be fair to say that?
Possibly, yeah. There's in Cumbria, there's the 2 main employers now are BAE as it is, Barra Shipyard, and Sellafield. There are other places, obviously, but Millom's in the middle of them. So 90% of Millomites would work at Sellafield or Barrow Shipyard. So you would meet your players from other teams, and you'd have a working relationship, but you wouldn't have a sporting friends until 4 o'clock kind of thing.
Then everybody's friends again, then, aren't they?
Well, yeah, that's how it should be, shouldn't it?
Definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely. Craig, I know that also as well. You've been you're celebrating each home game, aren't you? This season, to mark the 150th anniversary.
We are, yeah. We're trying to put heritage, make each game a heritage game. So the first game was it Seaton? Seaton, I think that was called the Founding Fathers game of Millom Rugby League. So we're sort of like giving them a title of historical pastimes, really, or events. We're having an internationals day. I think the fixture's been changed, so I'll get that one wrong. We're having an internationals day where hopefully all Millom internationals, living internationals, I should say, will come along. We'll have a drink and a buffet. Some of them don't get to the club as much as they would do, so the invite's there for them. We've got a mini rugby league appreciation day where all the kids will be on the field. We've got a sponsors. You can't live without your sponsors. We've got a sponsors day. We've got people who died, Millom players who died in World War One. them kind of things are write-ups on social media and in the matchday programme. But the World War One's the emotional one, really, because over the 4 years of World War One, Millom Club had lost over 30 of its players who had just started.
Wow, really?
Players. So we've got all the names that of the players that had died. So we're in the process again of trying to get them on a plaque with the Millom badge. The players who fell in World War One, and of course there was many more injured. So
I bet this has taken some research, and a lot of help from the local community, Craig.
Oh, it has, yeah. It's been a passion for about 20, 30 years of mine, but I'm nearly there, I think. I've had help from great people, Keith Nutter of Barra, Mike Clayton, the great Robert Gates, as we call him, big names in historical places, Bob Sewell from Whitehaven. When I start mentioning names, I always forget them, so apologies. So
yeah, we'll add a rider. We'll add a rider on this. Anyone who doesn't get mentioned, we're very, very sorry.
Yeah.
But you're right, and what I like as well, Craig, is that there's some people that you've mentioned already there that I know of, or I've got books from them in the past and things like that. So it's magnificent that it's just like on the field. It's a real team effort, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's you're right away for such as Keith. He'll could he use your information of what you've got against, for example, Millom v Salford in 1898 or something, and they just it's a instant yes. Nobody hides any history in rugby league. They just want it out there, and people have phoned me, emailed me. Can I use this? Of course you can. I've even got pictures of people's granddads for families who they've never had a picture of. So it works outside of the sport as well. And there's a historian in Millom called Bry Cooper. He does family trees, and he's a great asset to use. But it's all out there in books, and I've got a full loft of books of Billy Fish of Warrington and your Willie Horns of Barra. I think the Billy Fish that mentions the Salthouse matches. So I've got some which put the Lancashire versus Cumberland team in 1919. So it's all there. It just takes 20 or 30 years to find.
That's the whole thing, isn't it? With research, it can be hidden in someone's backyard somewhere, can't it? Or locked away in a cupboard.
It is, yeah. Just talk nice to people, and you'll find it. As I say, Mike Clayton is amazing. What information he's got on rugby league.
Mm-hmm. Craig, it's been fantastic to hear all about what you've got going on at Millom. It sounds like you've got your hands full with the plans and also what you've got going on for the rest of the season. It's I wish you all the best moving forward.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's been a pleasure this evening.
Could you tell I was enjoying that chat, Steve?
I could. You were well engrossed, weren't you?
I was, yeah, but I mean, he's finding out. It's all those things about history, and it seems like he's been really on the ball. It's something that he's been searching for about 20 years, and it never surprises me, but in some ways it does, of where history ends up. So you end up opening drawers and there's things. I mean, I can tell you, I'm a bit of a hoarder myself, much to the chagrin of people that know me, but I have a lot of notes of different games that I've commentated on, or old newspapers and things like that. So I'll be just as bad in 20 years' time. People will be going through all of my possessions and going, blinking heck, we didn't know that happened back in this week. We didn't know that there was a big win for Kells. There was a big win for Hunslet at Kells. They were saying they don't know about that.
Well, if you remember rightly, I bet it's about 12 months, might have been 18 months ago. I I said I've got absolutely loads of open rugbies from way back when, from the 80s and all those types. So from when Wigan were sort of ruling the roost in, pre Super League. Yes, there was actually rugby for Super League. I know it's hard to believe.
Who'd have thought it?
I know, and I didn't realise. I'm probably, when I say didn't realise, no, I probably didn't take as much notice of it as I should have. But looking back through it, the amount of coverage that Community Rugby League got in the Open Rugby was compared to today was outstanding. The articles that were in that, they had a good 2-page spread. Now that doesn't sound much, but in the bigger schemes of things, that was really, really good coverage. And you look at it now, it's not, you would think, okay, if they got that back then, how come it is, surely it must be a lot better today. And it hasn't. Even going through looking at universities, rugby and all that types of things was well covered.
Thanks. You depressed me now, Steve, because we're here trying to talk all about community rugby.
Yeah, but point being, that's what it's been left by the wayside. We're sort of reinvigorating what they started, and you would have thought if that had been started, how come the momentum hasn't been continued? Is that the paper's fault? Is it the way the governing body has not saw the opportunities like there are nowadays? And we've spoken about sort of the schools. We've spoken about the obviously the community sides. We've spoken about obviously the university games and the opportunities, not just for players to go on and play the sport, but to bring other things to the sport in the years to come. And when you look back, it would be interesting to look back at the university ones and see how many of those people have gone on to help, to form some of these clubs that you've spoke to, that are out of what we call the heartland, outside the heartland.
I think it's interesting, but I don't think you can throw the full blame at the RFL's door on this one. I mean, you've got to bear in mind as well that we have had Barla and NCL at loggerheads at a certain time. Barla's been involved in spats with the professional game itself. And, again, I'm not wanting to do too much and say too much against Barla as well, because obviously those discussions and those thoughts were needed, like at that particular point in time. And if it weren't for what happened back in the mid-70s and the early 70s, as we heard, Craig describe, then we wouldn't have a community game. We wouldn't have a show to talk about, to be fair, would we?
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, it's one of those where you always wish let's all get together for the good of the game. Let's all go in one direction. But there's always been the hiccups here and there, and there's always been somebody fortunately about to sort of have a little bit of a bit of nous at the times, and just to keep the ball rolling. But I think it's on probably a better footing than it's been on for a long time. But it's important that keeps moving forward, and that is from everybody, whether it be Barla, whether it be the NCL, whether it be the RFL. They all have to keep the foot on the gas and keep it moving forward, because it's the lifeblood of the professional game. Without the community, you can forget the professional game.
While we're talking about moving forward, let us also mention as well that it is the 50th Barla Cup final this coming weekend, and it sees Siddle play against
Hurst Finch.
It sees Siddle play against Hurst Finch. We'll get there in the end. There's a bit of editing on that one. I'm so sorry.
I'll have to write that time down.
You'll have to write that time down. I'm sorry about that. I've lost my thread now.
81 minutes.
81 minutes? Wow.
1 hour, 21 minutes. That's where we've been going.
Okay. It's a short one then. Sorry. Let me get back to it.
So what's happening this week, Parky?
So this week, it is, of course, the 50th Barla Cup final. So this one between Siddle and Hurst Finch. What a game in prospect. I mean, you've got Hurst Finch, who've only entered the competition, I think once, maybe twice before, up against, well, a Siddle side that is certainly in the hunt for some silverware. I think whether they're hoping that they can go on, lift some silverware, and then it'll then prompt them on into the season, because they've been a bit hit and miss so far, haven't they? I think we're in for an interesting cup tie, to be honest, over once again, your favourite place, Featherstone.
Yeah, I do, Parky. I think this one is probably one of the ones where we say it time and time again, don't we? When we certainly said it in the cup when community sides were coming up against, sort of like Championship and Championship one side, and Championship one side, we were saying, they've got to be on the game here, because take these teams lightly, and there could be a surprise. And I think this is one of those, because obviously they don't play in the same divisions, the same leagues, sorry. And the other side of it is from a Siddle point of view, like we've just been discussing them, we've been talking about, obviously Siddle, I've got the National Conference side, but obviously they've got a Yorkshire men's side as well. So will they put, which team will they put out? It's going to be interesting.
But they've been doing a bit of both, haven't they, this season? So they've used this particular competition as one to, do a bit of a mixture between NCL and Yorkshire Men's League. So I think it's a really interesting conundrum. Do they risk putting all those players in and saying, right, we'll go really, really strong, or are they going to give some of those guys that helped them get to this position a bit of a thank you, and say you've earned it? Go out there and see what you can do. And then from a Hurst Finch point of view, I mean, they can play some magnificent rugby. So absolutely outstanding attacking stuff. I was really, really impressed with them during their semi-final win against Driglington a few weeks ago. And they've not been too shabby, have they, in the North West Men's League either?
No, I think their only defeat at the moment is Oral St James, and that I think that was away, and it wasn't a big defeat. And the bottom line is, it's no disgrace getting beat by Oral St James, because we know, as we said earlier on, what a good side they can be. Certainly at home, there's no ifs and buts there.
So now we're off to your favourite destination again, the weekend, Steve. Yeah,
loving it.
What's going to be your pre-match? Your pre-match routine. What we're going for?
Well, and I remember our last one. It was we had if I remember rightly, we had a full English before we got down there.
But I'm hoping we can do that again. To be honest, Steve.
Yeah, saying that though, when I went last time. Because I think you were commentating on what we were on, and when I got there, I had a chips and gravy, which is very, very nice. Gotta say, do a lovely chips and gravy.
I must remember to take my wallet this time. Yeah, because I didn't last time I was there.
Well, surely our good friends Mr. Manning and Mr. Hodgson. I know Mr. Hodgson's a Yorkshire man, so there might be trouble there getting anything out of him. But I'm sure Mr. Manning will be the gracious host that he always is.
I'm sure he will be. But I'm hoping that Phil gets better, because he sent me an email a little bit earlier on saying that, unfortunately, he's tested and he's got a bout of COVID. So I'm hoping that he'll be better and he's back up and running and. Back up and running up and down them steps, to be honest, getting them now.
I thought you was going to tell me he'd been arrested for breaking into a fiver then.
You do realise when he listens to this, we'll be hell to pay.
He'll love it, and I can't wait to see him. And Mr. Manning as well. I've not seen them for a while, so yeah, it'd be great to meet up with him.
So yeah, but again, I think the fact that this is so historical and it's the 50th Barlow Cup final, it really wants celebrating, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we've been to a couple of these now, and the great occasions. We can bet your bottom dollar it'll be a good match. There'll be some incident, whether it go bad or indifferent. There will be incident because it's a competition that teams want to win.
Definitely.
And as you say, it's not always the big boys who get through to the finals of it. So yeah, it makes it great for all the supporters. I know Hurst Finch are taking 3 coaches. Along, so it's going to be good.
It's an impressive effort, that already, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be one heck of a game. And we'll have all the reaction next week, won't we, Steve?
We certainly will. Certainly will.
Also getting underway last weekend was BetFred Women's Challenge Cup. And as last year, all the sides split into 4 tables of 4 teams each. So that includes the 12 Super League sides from Sections A and Section B, and an invitation handed as well to Pilkington Rovers, Alton Raidettes, and then from Women's Super League South, Cardiff Demons and London Broncos. So that meant that we had an interesting first round of fixtures. As I mentioned, these are all in pools. So basically, the 4 teams in each pool will play against each other, and the top 2 from each pool will go on to the quarterfinals, and then the semi-finals, and then the final to be played at Wembley later in the season. So in Group 1, that saw Wigan Warriors travel all the way down to Cardiff Demons, and they came back victorious, Wigan, by 38 points to 20. The other game taking part in this competition was the game I was at. So this was Salford Red Devils hosting Featherstone Rovers. And I've got to say that Featherstone won the Challenge Cup opener, but the emotions between them and beating Salford at the final hooter couldn't have been more contrasting. For the Red Devils, it was pride as they held their own against a team expected to do well in their section this season. For Rovers, who squandered possession cheaply at times, it was frustration, with coach Marie Colley feeling her side were complacent and they need to improve massively. Injuries restricted the changes that the host could make in the second half, and they played the last 43 minutes with 1 replacement halfback after both starters had to leave the field. Featherstone made the best of starts when their lethal right edge linked and Chloe Billington offloaded for Ellie Lamb to ground wide out. Amy Backhouse was unable to count with any of her 4 conversions, but Salford struck back after 8 minutes when a neat offload came out of the tackle and Victoria Kinney plunged over. It was too far out for Lucy McEwen to improve, so it was 4 points each. Salford enjoyed the better of the next 15 minutes, with Steph Gray, Rogan Evans, Sam Evans and Louise Fellingham all having their moments. A high tackle by Kirsty Duffield heaped more pressure on Featherstone, and although a high kick from Danielle Waters seemingly had McEwen in a tangle, the Salford fullback was able to take it and make 20 metres in return. Just as Featherstone were clicking into gear on the left, a superb tackle from Sage Bannister prevented them from taking advantage of a big overlap. But it wasn't long before the visitors were asking questions again, and Billington drifted wide superbly to fool the defence from a penalty and cross. Salford had already lost Sam Evans to injury and were then further hampered when a collision between Liana Leota and Fellingham meant both left the field. And just before that, Serena Tamu was stopped from scoring on the last tackle. Featherstone put Tally Breyer into action, and she showed good awareness to spot a gap in the defence, ducking through and running 20 metres before handing on for Billington to finish off for a 12 points to 4 half-time advantage. Early in the second half, Salford were right back in the contest when Demi Jones put in a superb kick and Bannister rode through without breaking stride to score. Jones was unable to tag on the extras, but the hosts had renewed confidence, with Kinney proving tough to handle and Megan Conliffe giving her all through the middle. They were unsettling the visitors. Featherstone reclaimed possession and the upper hand in the 47th minute, with Waters cleverly swerving between 2 defenders to make the lead 8 points. They then went through a scrappy period, although there was some quality mixed in, with Breyer and Olivia Grace finding space and Lamb twice being ankle-tapped by McEwen. Salford again flickered into life around the hour, as Tamsin Corcoran had a try disallowed. Alex Simpson's chip and chase proved slightly too long, and Kinney and Bannister also asked questions. For Featherstone, debutant Brooke Price couldn't hold on to a Lucy Attry ball, but they did score when a 5-pass play on the right ended with Billington getting Lamb over for her second try. This was converted superbly by Breyer before the final whistle, and the final score was Salford Red Devils 8, Featherstone Rovers 22. Got to say, I know the coaches of Featherstone Rovers weren't too happy with this at all. They felt that it was an awful performance from them. This was a really good game. I enjoyed it. I think that because of how bitty it was, it kind of played into the hands of Salford, who just battled and battled. When you lose your two halfbacks, it's an unbelievable effort from your side to get anywhere close, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so, Parker. And you know what? I made up for the Salford girls because obviously we had them on. I think it wasn't last season. It was season before, if I remember rightly, wasn't it?
No, it was last season.
Was it last season?
It was the very start of last season.
Yeah.
We started playing.
I made up for them. I mean, obviously, a victory would have been fantastic, but you know, a lot of this is putting performances in, and that is. I mean, you look, and we've said it before, that you know some of the score lines that you get, and there are a couple in there which are actually blowouts, but that is excellent, and it would, again, you know, that they can take a hell of a lot from that, and if they can keep that enthusiasm going, which they had when we spoke to them at the beginning of last year, and I'm sure that enthusiasm will come through after that result as well.
Well, the enthusiasm certainly came through after these next two interviews. So we're going to start from a Salford point of view, and initially, I caught the thoughts directly after the game of their boss, Chris Bates.
I'm joined by Chris. We're in the aftermath of your side going down by 22 points to 8 against Featherstone. But I thought it was a real battling performance from your side.
Yeah, it certainly was. I think we spoke a little bit earlier, didn't we, about the journey that we're on as a team, and that was chaos for us. That was chaos. We played the second half in no interchanges, and we asked 13 Warriors really to go and dig deep for us and dig deep for this badge, and that's kind of what we expect them to do, and I thought they did phenomenally. I think if we were a little more clinical, I think we'd have posted a couple more points, then all of a sudden it's a ball game. But given the situation we were playing in, I'm really proud of that.
I mean, to be fair, you lost both your halfbacks, which is an unusual situation, isn't it?
It certainly is. Luckily, we had one kind of coming into the bench who ended up having to try and run the game for us, but we ended up with 9 having to drop into half, and players playing at 13 that hadn't played there before, and so on. It was chaos, but I'm really proud of how they dealt with it. Part of the beauty of this game is the adversity it brings, and seeing how athletes kind of deal with that. So I'm really proud of them.
I know I picked out Victoria Kinney and also Broken Evans as perhaps your two top performers. Would that be fair, or do you think there's other players that were also worthy of a mention?
Yeah, I think a good few. I think some stuff that probably won't stand out. I mean, you look at some of this, the kind of grunt work that our middles have had to do there. You've got two props there who normally play kind of 15-20 minute spells who've just done 40. You've got Abby playing on one hand, who's had to do 40 minutes at second row, 60 actually. And then you look at kind of Sage coming and carrying strong out to good ball. You look at the work that Steph Gray did to try and close down their three, who I thought was outstanding all game. I think there's a number of performances there that we should be proud of.
It was a fab try as well, which Sage scored with that kick to the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some real talent in this squad, and talent that I think probably hasn't showcased itself in the kind of in the way that it might have done. So for some of those players, the chance to kind of step up to this stage and go through a long grueling pre-season to get themselves ready to do so, and then for Demi to go, kind of who's one of those players, to step up, execute that kick on this kind of stage in front of this many people, and for Sage to go and catch that and dot that down is fantastic. I'm really pleased for him.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously I'm interviewing you after the game, which is before the Catalan game. I mean, Salford now have this where it's a real showcase of rugby league down here, isn't it?
So I think we talked a little bit earlier about how much the club had bought into the group, and that from the backroom staff to kind of the fans, social media and all the rest of it. And I think this is exactly why, because you've got people coming down to a real event here. You've got the men playing a fantastic brand. You've got us kind of on the pitch at the side with people rocking up and can kind of come and sit and have a beer and watch some decent rugby league, and then go in and support the men. It's brilliant.
So I know this is the first of 3 Challenge Cup games that you're going to play in the group stages. What do you make of the format? It's an interesting format, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. You end up going into a 3-game series thinking, well, if we win 2, then we're through. So how do you then play that? And then equally, is this our priority? Should it be? I don't know. We're throwing everything we can into it because we're here and it's the Challenge Cup and those was Rugby League. Why wouldn't we? But actually, we're also kind of looking to try and cement our place in Super League at the same time, and it brings a different kind of a different priority for us, and so much stuff to think about, and maybe even the chance for some teams to showcase some players that perhaps are on their fringes as well. So yeah, a really interesting format, especially in and amongst the kind of regular season rather than it being split off like it was last year.
I also love the fact that again, similar to the men's game, it's not scared of innovation. We've got 9s tournaments in the middle of the season. We've got all these other things that are kind of like there to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. Every one of these things is an opportunity for all of us to step up and showcase what we can do. You know, these are women that have come. These are the pioneers that we're watching now. There aren't many kind of women ahead of them for them to look up to, but the girls that are stood on the sideline, the kind of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old girls are now watching their heroes, and that's phenomenal. So if they can see that in a nines tournament, if they can see that in the Challenge Cup with a final ending at Wembley, if they can see that kind of in a Super League competition that's really competitive and kind of women competing at a really high level, then I think that's phenomenal.
Chris, commiserations, but you've got loads and loads of positives from that, I think.
Yeah, no commiserations needed. I think if you look at how fractured that game was for us, I think we can be nothing but pleased with what they've turned out. So no commiserations needed. I think we'll, although I appreciate it, I think we'll take plenty from that, and I look forward to seeing what we serve up in a few weeks. Understandably,
a very, very proud man, Steve.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I was just saying, all you can ask for is a performance, and the girls to give the best that they can. You can't ask for any more than that, and you know it stands them in good stead moving forward, and makes his job a lot easier. Because if you can come out with enthusiasm and you've lost. You know, just think what that will be like when they start putting wins together, because they will. There's no ifs and buts about that.
Well, you heard me say about offering him commiserations at the end, and he said there's no need for commiserations, to be honest, Dave. I'm really proud of the performance, but he will take them. So I did quite like that, to be fair. Right, let's have some more reaction, this time from a player's point of view. And here is halfback Demi Jones, who started off the bench.
Okay, I'm delighted to be joined by Demi Jones. Demi, what a game that was. I mean, it was... have you ever known a game where like both starting halfbacks end up getting injured and you were trying to run it, wasn't you?
Mate, honestly, I've just come back from injury, so it was nice to get on, but obviously not nice that I've had to come on for someone who's injured, especially Sam. And I think, you know, you've kind of got to know when stuff falls apart, like both halfbacks and your captain going off, that then I've got to then fill both halfback roles. You know, Taz done a good enough job in coming from 9 into half, but mate, what a game. I can't fault the girls at all, especially playing against a team like that.
It was fantastic commitment, wasn't it, from like 1 to 17?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like, you know, we didn't expect that. We had absolutely no subs, and we were all dying on the field. But listen, we all fighted for each other, and I think that's what counts, really.
And ultimately, you weren't far off, other than the performance of the centre Billington. You was with them. Exactly,
mate. Exactly. You know, we went in at half time and said, you know, if we want this game, we go out and get it. And then we didn't expect, you know, half the players to be injured, but we come out and we played our hearts out. So we're all going to go in now with those smiles on our faces.
So you've been down at Salford since it started. Yes. You've seen the side progress. You had a fantastic season last year. How are you enjoying the ride?
Mate, you know what? It's a challenge. You know, I've not played rugby for that long, so coming from, you know, playing in Championship straight to Super League, it's a battle, mate. It's a battle, but we're ready for it. And I think how we play today is the teams need to look at that and think, hang on a minute, we're in for a battle this season.
What is your background?
So. From when I was little, I used to play footy up until I was around 18, and then my friend Liv was like, why don't we go and play for Widnes rugby? I thought, you know what, let's do it, let's go and have a go. Went on to go rugby, sack footy off, and then played rugby for 6 years.
And here you are now.
And there I am now, professional. I've got people coming up to me saying how well I've played, so listen, it's good.
And I mean, like I've just spoke to Chris, and he's described you as the pioneers, because obviously, you know, you're getting new people interested, new girls interested in playing rugby league. How does that feel? I mean, it's probably a massive question, that.
Mate, you know what, it's amazing, you know, like I have a team in my own, Salford Roosters, and they're all like, well, I want to be like you when I'm older, I want to be in that team. And I'm like, well, that's what it's for. Like, I love going out on our field and little kids looking up to us and thinking, you know what, I'm going to play that one day, and it's nice that there's more people getting involved and we're getting the praise that we need.
Fantastic to hear players' point of view yet again. And again, so much enthusiasm and an unusual accent to be heard, but great to hear a little story as well about playing football up until the age of 18 and then deciding after a few years out to give rugby league a bit of a go. And here, 6 years later, she's there pulling on the jumper of the Salford Red Devils and doing a sterling job.
Yeah, the thing is, Parky, it's great that the opportunity's there for her to be able to do that, and you know, to get in a Salford side that's, you know, it's bubbling, isn't it? You know, they're enjoying it, and that's the, you know, your good starter for 10, as you say. You know, it's moving onwards and upwards for them now, I think.
And to be fair as well, I mean, she hit upon a good point there about now they're the pioneers of playing rugby league as far as Salford are concerned. There's girls that are watching and they're starting to want to get involved. So she was saying about, she coaches a side down at Salford Roosters, which again is so important from a community point of view. And she's got little girls coming up to her saying, I want to be you. I want to be pulling on a Salford jersey. And there's nothing to stop him in the coming years, is there?
No, Timothy said, Parker, that is fantastic, isn't it? And that's what has happened certainly with the women's game. And again, something we've said before, because I think girls, women in general, are lots easier to get involved with things, to give give the time and just give them a encouragement. Don't get me wrong, the majority of professional teams do that. But is that something that, when I say professional, I mean men's teams, but is that something that they would do, just automatically? Or is that something that's, they've been encouraged to do? But I'm sure you'll find with the majority of the girls and women's side that, whether it was televised, whether it was just a warm-up game, if there was kids watching, they'd be over and they'd be talking to them and playing with them and do it just naturally, not without any sort of encouragement to go and do that.
Shall we hear some more players' points of view?
Certainly.
This time from a Featherstone Rovers. And I, first of all, got to have a chat with Fran Copley.
Fran, tough win here today, 22 points to 8. What did you make of it?
I don't think we were top of our game today. I think we struggled to settle into the game. We could have performed a lot better than we did, but we come away with the 2 points, we come away with a win, and it's something that we can go back and we can work on as a team.
I mean, true, because we are really early in the season, aren't we? This is only the second game proper. Do you feel it's a bit of a setback from last week then?
No, not at all. I think we've had a few new girls come in today and they've done a run out and they've really stepped up. It's just finding that rhythm and that unity as a team, and it's going to come as the season goes on.
Got to say that right side though is lethal when it links together. You had Chloe scoring 2 tries, Ellie scoring a couple as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So really good, looking up, saw the space, really exploited that side when we found a little bit of a weakness. So it really paid off for us today that we noticed that heads up rugby, and we came away with the tries from that.
And I know that you've been with Featherstone for a few years now. How are you enjoying the journey?
Yeah, good. I mean, this is my 3rd season now. I've not been playing league long. I've only been playing for 4 years, and one of those was COVID, from a union background. So, still finding my own feet with it all. But yeah, I'm loving the journey. I think as a team, we're a lot stronger than we were last season at the start. We just need to keep building on that.
Tell us a little bit about that journey as well. So where did you start off?
Where did I start off? I started off at Barnsley Rugby Club when I was 22. I'm a bit late starter into rugby. I was a dancer before. Did 6 years. Well, that would make me, 28? So a bit less, 5 years. And then I started playing rugby league. Started at Wakefield, moved on to Featherstone after COVID. And then that's where my journey started. Got involved with Ireland, set up 2 years ago. Played a couple of games for Ireland, got a couple of caps under my name, which I'm really proud of, and that's where we are. So I'm still here and I'm still playing at the ripe old age of 29.
That's not old.
It feels old sometimes.
But I mean, like you mentioned there about the your caps for Ireland as well. I mean, that must have been fantastic to get, because no one can take that away from you. You played in the very first Ireland women's side.
Yeah, and from the background that I have in sport, I danced at world level and I did all of that, and I won 3 world championships. And I think for me, just being able to say that I've got a cap for Ireland means a massive, a lot to me. My granddad from Ireland has passed away now, and I just love living through that heritage and continuing that on, and being able to do that and being picked up, in that Ireland setup has really, pushed me to keep playing, and it's something that I'll be proud of forever.
Who have you got next up in the Challenge Cup?
Wigan.
Oh, big game.
Big game. We only won them by 2 points last year in Challenge Cup, so we've got a lot to work on in preparation for Wigan. They're a strong side. They've started off well, so yeah, it'll be a big game, good game.
Thanks a lot, Fran.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's great to speak to Fran there, and really interesting that. And again, this is where I find players' journeys into rugby league from a women's point of view are so much more interesting. So much more interesting. I mean, you heard Fran there saying that she'd done 3 world championships in dance before switching to play rugby union, first of all, down in Barnsley. And then she finds herself after 5 years getting the opportunity to play rugby league. Unfortunately, it didn't really come off for Wakefield because of the COVID times, but she's gone to Featherstone. She's absolutely loving the rugby there. It sounds like she's learning so much week in, week out. And also, you heard us talk there, very, very positively about her international experience with Ireland. So, it just seems, I love these sort of chats. It opens your eyes, doesn't it?
It does. And the thing is, Parker, the strange, it's not strange really, when you look at it logically, because the opportunities were there, they've gone on or they'll have done other things. Now suddenly the opportunities, it's not sort of like drifted in. It's been a big explosion, hasn't it? I mean, when you look at it logically, if you compare it to the men's pathway, I mean, it's absolutely just gone kabang, and you've got your community level, you've got your on its way to some sort of professionalism level, and then you've got your international level. That's come out of nowhere to a certain extent. I know a lot of people say, hang on, there's been a lot of hard work over the years. There has, and I don't disagree with that. But if you run that in comparison and relatively alongside the men's game, it's such a short period of time, and yet it's on virtually sort of. If you look the same length of time it took for the men's game, and then you say, okay, we'll give that same length of time to the women's game, how far on will the women's game be? Will it be better than the men's game? Will it have evolved a lot more, into crowds, etc.? Will there be people who just go and watch the women's game? Will there be people who say, well, I don't want to go and watch the men play because the women's game is so much different and I enjoy that type of it better?
Well, again, I can't compliment this game enough. I know certainly one interviewee wasn't too happy after it, who we'll come to in a minute. But I just love the effort. When you see the effort and you see how much both sides are giving, then it's a joy to be there. And if the game's even close and quite evenly matched like this was for a long period, then it's worth every bit of attendance that they get and every bit of publicity that it generates. Which leads me nicely on to our next interview. And I got to chat with Chloe Billington, who just a few years ago wasn't even playing rugby league and finds herself in the England squad, potentially to take on the French this coming weekend.
Delighted to be joined by 2-try Chloe Billington. What was that like to play in?
Really, really good. Obviously, we've not faced Salford before, so we didn't know what challenge we were going to be expected with, but I thought our performance could have been a little bit better in terms of defence, but I think we're happy to get the win.
Yeah, a bit of a step into the unknown then, really.
Yeah, definitely, but I think that we'll only move forward from this, and then we've got Wigan next, and I think we need to put in a big performance from that.
It brings you together as a team, these type of events, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and obviously to play at the side of Salford Stadium is a massive accomplishment as well, so really enjoyed it.
Now, yours is an interesting story as well, because I remember commentating on one of your games when you played for Featherstone Lionesses. How are you enjoying the journey?
Really, really good. We had training yesterday. We were a bit of a light session. Obviously, we're moving on to the test match next week, so fingers crossed to get selected. But it's just it's a journey, and I'm proud to be on it.
Yeah, but I was thinking just generally, so coming from amateur, going all the way through, and getting these representative honours, which you must be so proud of.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive accomplishment. I've only just joined league about 4 seasons ago, so to progress that is just unreal. I'm just working hard and I'm really enjoying it at Fev, and they've brought me on to actually get into that squad, so really, really happy with it.
What was your background before?
I used to play rugby union.
Okay.
So a little bit of a change from codes, but yeah, really. I mean, I prefer league at the minute, so definitely.
You've settled into it, no problem.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think that Featherstone as a whole will only just progress even more. Obviously, with the team to be on paper this year to move into the Super League One, so fingers crossed we can get that.
And to be fair, it's still quite a young team, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We've got players coming in from the under-19s. It can only get better, and obviously we're only at the start of the season, so pre-season was long, but more that we move on to the season, I think we'll gel as a team a little bit better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My thanks go to Chloe there for the interview. Again, some great insight, and interesting that she noted that they're looking forward to the next cup game coming up against Wigan.
Yeah, and that's good, isn't it? That suddenly there's that desire and hunger to play against, what are classed as the big teams, and I mean that in the sense of the name of from a Wigan point of view, the success that the town has had as a rugby league area. The women's game, they've had success really early doors, certainly with the women's game, and you look at Chloe Billington, who'd have thought, same as you say, it was saying, not that long ago. Wonder if she was dreaming of thinking, well, it won't be that long before I'm playing, possibly playing international rugby league. It's a strange world, isn't it?
And the beauty of this Featherstone side as well is that there's a lot of young players that are waiting in the wings, and players that are starting to come through and make their mark. Tally Breyer, I mentioned her the other week, saying that she was one to look out for when I covered the Wala Cup finals day, and she's gone straight into that Featherstone side, and she looks like a veteran. You're talking to a player there that's 18, 19 years old. And she's playing some superb stuff. And as I say, combining with Chloe on that right-hand edge, wow. I mean, that is dynamite. I put in my match report, because in League Express, they ask you to do like a game star.
Yeah.
And I just put here, Chloe Billington. She added a sprinkling of stardust to steal Featherstone's win. And she did. She scored 2 tries. She laid on 2 for a winger. And it's just that sort of that right edge is so deadly. And then when you took someone like Tally Breyer in there, who's just got natural rugby league ability, then yeah, I can see why people are talking highly of Featherstone at that particular level this season.
Yeah, very, very much so. And what I hope doesn't happen is that the bigger clubs come in and take away these people from the clubs that they're in currently at the moment. Because what we need to be able to get a good spread of competitive clubs, and what we don't want is for 1 or 2 clubs to get all the names and off they go, and not break away, but we're talking it from various leagues when you get the top 1, 2, possibly 3. And the rest are also around. We don't want that. That's the last thing we want. But want everybody to be able to have the chance to be competitive, chance of being able to win on a level playing field.
So we've spoke, very highly so far, and so have all of our guests. Let's have a bit of reality, shall we? We speak to I got the chance to speak to Marie Colley. She's the coach of Featherstone Rovers. I'll tell you what, she weren't too happy with this one.
Marie, your thoughts on that game? 22 points to 8, you ended up victors. Are you happy as a coach with that?
No, absolutely not happy now. That's the worst game that we've played in 16 months. It was just error-ridden, we lacked energy and enthusiasm, and we've got a lot to work on for Wigan in 2 weeks.
Can you take anything from that? Because I thought that your right side attack, when it clicked into gear at the times, was pretty lethal.
Yeah, our right side edge, we've got some strong, versatile players on that side, and I think when our young half, Tally Breyer, came on, she made a whole heap of difference on that edge for us.
Yeah, I mean, she looks a confident player, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. She's just naturally gifted, and she's still young. She's still learning the game, but we've got a lot about her now that she's able to pull off these plays and slice defences open.
I mean, I know from speaking to you before that this was a step into the unknown, wasn't it? You didn't know what you was going to get with Salford.
Yeah, it definitely was a step into the unknown, and I think our girls were a little bit complacent, which is why we lacked energy in our performance. I think that we thought we'd already won before we'd rocked up, and we definitely can't have that attitude.
I suppose, to be fair, scoring a try after a minute, that just sort of heightened it, ended it.
Yeah, it did. I think they got carried away with themselves. We score a try within 1 minute, and then they level it up. Not too long after, and I think that was a little bit of a kick up the backside that we should have had, but we didn't take that on board, and we let them come into the game better than we should have done.
Just talking a little bit wider, because you're now in a position where you're building on your squad, aren't you, at Featherstone, which is a good position to be in.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good position to be in. We give 2 girls debuts today, so it just shows that we're attracting the right calibre of player. It's just putting that into performances on the field when they're there together. Making sure the combinations work.
Who were the 2 girls who were on debut?
So Brooke Price and Rachel Eastwood.
Which is it's really good because they come from the community game.
Yeah, so they've been playing rugby with Methley Warriors throughout the winter. They've been pre-season training with Bradford Bulls, but wanted a challenge. So obviously they asked if they could come over to Featherstone. We had them on trial for a few weeks before, selecting them to actually be involved in our squad.
You've done well to get them ahead of Bradford, really, haven't you?
Yeah, we have, and I think that's what we're attracting now. We look to be an attractive side where players do want to come and play for us, and I think over recent years that has been a struggle at Featherstone, so I'm told anyway. To be able to attract players and have them knocking on the door to come and want to play for us speaks volumes of what we're trying to achieve.
Fingers crossed that you do achieve those things and you're moving forward, and best of luck in a couple of weeks against Wigan.
Yeah, thank you. Performances like that won't get us 2 points, but hopefully we can address that situation over the next 2 weeks.
Don't get me wrong, she did have a valid point there. And I think that them scoring as early as they did in that very first minute suggested that it was going to be a cakewalk for Featherstone, and they kind of got pulled into a false sense of security. And then before they knew it, they were in a dogfight.
Yeah, and this is what we speak about, Parky, isn't it? And we said earlier, about underestimating your opponents, and the psychological side of the game is so important that you don't let that happen. Because if the catch is that if you don't switch on and your other team, get the momentum, we've said it time and time again, momentum is a hard thing to stop when people are on the roll. So this will stand them in good stead moving forward. It's a lesson learnt in that respect.
Talking about teams on a roll, Leeds Rhinos, they rolled right over the top of Bradford Bulls, defeating them by 72-0. It was a game to remember as well for Beth Lockwood, who grabbed a hat-trick. While in the other Challenge Cup games, Alton Raidettes went down by 54-4 against Huddersfield Giants. Frankie Townend impressing there. There was also a hat-trick there for Amelia Brown. We spoke about her last year playing in the President's Cup, and she really impressed at that level. It sounds like she's going to be coming back right on form. There was also a commanding performance from York Valkyrie away at Barrow Raiders. They won by 44-4. Kershaw and Taylor scoring a couple of tries apiece there. While Lee Leopards went over to Pilkington Rovers, had to survive a bit of an early scare because the hosts went 10-6 up, but Lee Leopards fought back to win in the end by 38-16. A couple of tries there for Taylor, 5 goals from the boot of Knowles. And then finally, to round off the action, Castleford Tigers 0, Warrington Wolves 72, and it was a day to remember for Michelle Davis, who is a fantastic player, by the way. Seen quite a bit of her play, usually at fullback, but she's been called into action at halfback for the last couple of games. She ran in 4 tries and kicked 10 goals. That's a profitable afternoon, isn't it?
It certainly is. And again, something we've said, somebody who can kick goals in the women's game is priceless, absolutely priceless.
No fixtures this coming weekend due to the mid-season international, but I'm interested to see the makeup of that England side and how they go on against the French, to be honest, Steve.
Yeah, because the French are no slouches, are they, when it comes to the international game? But I'm sure there'll be blood and thunder as always.
Oh, what a varied show we've enjoyed again, Steve.
We've been everywhere, Parker. Been everywhere.
We try and get everywhere. We try and mention everything. If there's something that we've not talked about, do drop us a line. And if you want your club to play a part in a future episode, you can either message on Twitter at 13ProAmRL, or you can message myself at Dave Parkinson RL, and we'll set something up. People can also email the show as well, can't they, Steve?
Certainly can. It's at 13proam at gmail.com. So if you want to send that through, we'll certainly take on board whatever you send through. If you want us to mention anything about your club, if you've got anything coming up at all, if you've got any interviews or match reports that you want to send through, we'll be more than happy to use them to help to broaden our results part of the show.
And also our knowledge, because it's great to give context, isn't it, to the competitions?
Yeah, very, very much. And so, someone say I've got to say a big thank you to those that down when I was out and about at Shevington, because again we were on about it last week. I think about clubs, having new bills and using them to the most efficient. And I sort of looked at the Twitter and Facebook accounts over the weekend, and the amount of games and things that go on, and you then look at the clubs and you think, you know what, the way they ball. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some people could argue and say, oh, they don't look the most spectacular things. That doesn't matter. It fulfills a purpose for that club to help that club to run, and that's the main thing. I mean, certainly there at Shevington got two really big areas. Nice area for car parking as well. There was no hassle at all there. Great in and out. And I know they're hoping for other things moving forward. They were saying as well with regards to the development of the club, etc.
As ever, Steve, thank you ever so much.
No problem, mate. You know that, Parker. Looking forward to the weekend and getting over to Featherstone.
And we'd like to thank our guests for this evening. So my thanks go to Lee Roberts from Skirlaugh, Jamie Smith from Pilkington Recs, to Craig Evans from Millom, to Chris Bates and Demi Jones from Salford Ladies, and to Marie Colley, Fran Copley and Chloe Billington from Featherstone Ladies. Let's do it all again next week, shall we?